Chapter 45 The Silence of Darkness. A remote, run-down part of the neighborhood near Tomata approximately 8 or 9 years ago. Standing on the tip of his toes to see over the counter at the display doll, the violet-haired boy asked, "Sir, how much is that doll over there? The one with the golden hair and eyes that blink?"
Little boy, it's quite expensive. It's 6,000 yen. The store clerk replied, peering curiously at the boy with large golden brown eyes set in a girlish face. Who's it for, boy?
My twin sister. She's in the hospital, and she's always wanted one of those princess dolls, young Syaoran replied, wincing when he heard the price. I promised her I'd buy her one.
Holding the doll up for the boy to see, the store clerk said, "This doll is a very popular item. There are only a few left in stock. How much money do you have?"
1,000 yen, the boy replied slowly. But I've been earning money, working at the local convenience store. In 2 months, I'll have enough money saved up to buy the doll.
2 months? The store clerk raised a critical eyebrow. I'm not sure if this particular type of doll will still be in stock then.
Oh, please, save one for me, sir. I promise I'll come back to buy it, Syaoran appealed, staring at the blue-eyed doll with longing.
Boy, this is a business. There are many people who can buy it right away, the man replied, wavering.
Please, it's for my sister. Every Christmas, she has asked for a doll of her own, and every Christmas she never got one. Always having to share toys with the other kids at the orphanage, the boy pleaded.
Orphanage? Finally sighing and relent, the store clerk said, Fine, I'll hold it for you as long as it takes for you to earn your money. But I warn you, I won't hold it for too long.
Oh, thank you, thank you. The boy smiled sincerely, the change in his face heartwarming even to a man worn out by business. The man smiled back at the angel-faced boy, storing the doll underneath the counter desk.
You better come back and buy the doll for your little sister.
Don't worry, little Syaoran replied, running out of the door, knowing that he would be punished if he was late for orphanage curfew. From then, 2 months passed, and the Chain twins' 7th birthday approached.
Chain Syaoran, where did you get all this money?
The head of the orphanage demanded, holding up a crumpled envelope filled with 100 yen bills one evening when Syaoran had been caught sneaking into the orphanage late at night well after curfew. I earned it, Syaoran said sullenly. Give it back, it's mine.
Liar! I bet you stole it, one of the older boys sneered.
No, he didn't. He worked every evening to the local convenience for the past 8 weeks to earn the money, a mouse-like girl retorted, her voice starting off strong, then fading into a whisper when the head glared at her. Yuriko, around the twins' age, rarely spoke, and Syaoran was surprised by her sudden boldness in defending him. Frowning, the head of the orphanage said, Syaoran-kun, you know it's against the rules to go out of the orphanage grounds past curfew. As a result of your disobedience, I will confiscate this money. Staring up with uncanny golden eyes, Syaoran repeated, Give it back. It's my money and not yours. The fierce glow in the boy's eyes, just like an angry cat's, unsettled the head. Who do you think you're glaring at, you impertinent boy? She slapped the boy's face sharply. When Syaoran continued to stare back unfalteringly, the head was even more agitated. Be grateful that you are in this orphanage, being fed and clothed and sheltered. Otherwise, you and your sister would have been left in the streets to die. Without even flinching, Syaoran fingered the redness on his cheek. In a cool voice, with words unlike that of others his age, Syaoran replied, I wonder if you feel better about yourself by infringing upon your authority. Is it because we live on charity? Because we seem to be dependent on you? Or is it merely because you're an adult and we're only children? Just because one looks helpless doesn't mean that he is stupid. Though you can control our lives for now, you can't control our minds. And you think you're doing us a favor by keeping us? Don't think for a second that we are grateful. Not at all. Don't you know a prisoner of war would rather starve than to be fed the scraps thrown at him by his captivator? Exactly what are you implying, you intolerable brat? How dare you talk back? Curse the day when you and your twin were brought here, the head snapped, knocking Syaoran down with a wooden staff and beating him. How could a 7-year-old talk like an adult? Being humiliated in front of all the children sparked her anger. Yes, despite the red marks streaked across the boy's cheek and clothes that were faded and overlarge on his slim, light-boned frame, the sweet girlish face made him look like a dignified and mistreated young aristocrat, unfit for such meager surroundings. This agitated her more, as if this young boy was superior to her. Now come over here. Dragging Syaoran by the arm to the end of the hallway, she flung him into the dark and damp storage room. Stay in there until you repent your impertinence. Syaoran's shin bone collided into a broken chair. He could hear the lock clicking behind him. Only 1,000 more yen to earn, and he would have had enough money to buy the doll. But the head had taken it all away from him. Months' worth of hard work. What was the use of it all? Yet, he could recall the longing in Erika's eyes when she saw the other girls in the hospital showered with presents, especially beautiful princess dolls dressed in lacy frocks. Erika, she must be so lonely by herself in the strange hospital. She hated being alone. Crawling into his familiar corner at the far end of the small storage room, Syaoran sat down and hugged his knees to his chest. It was chilly, and the musty smell of the room did not agree with him. His head brushed against something soft and wispy. Cobwebs. A spider, or so he thought, because it was too dark to actually see it, scampered up his arm. He brushed it away in disgust. Why was he young, small, and helpless? If he were an adult, he could just run away far from this miserable place with Erika. If he were an adult, he would be able to burst open that door. If he were an adult, he would be able to control this indignant anger and hatred burning in his heart. Whether it was a hallucination or his imagination, Syaoran was not sure, but at that moment, he heard a deep man's voice. You are not powerless, Syaoran. Look deep inside you, and you will find me. Yet there was no other person in the room. Later, he would be able to identify the voice of his greatest ancestor, Chain Ryuichi-sama. I am powerless. I hate being powerless. I want to have power. I'll do anything for more power, Syaoran thought, clenching his fists tightly. I want to get out of here. A dizzy sensation washed over him as he felt a strangling pain in his heart. Then his breath was taken away as a sudden, unseen force seemed to radiate from him. First a shattering sound, then the wooden door burst open on its own, though there was no wind, letting in a stream of light. The door was open. All he had to do was walk out. But his strength had given up, and he could not move his limbs. Once more, he was powerless. Syaoran's vision blurred, and he collapsed onto the ground, inches away from the way out. Abruptly, Syaoran, age 15, opened his eyes and stared up at the ceiling of his spacious room in the wealthiest area in Tomata. For a second, he thought he was back in the orphanage.
staring at the ceiling with cracked plaster and old spider webs. It was rare that he dreamed, and even rarer that he dreamed about his childhood. Or was it a dream? Shortly after that incident in his dream, Erika had fallen into a coma, and the heart surgery had failed. In result, the power within them had awakened, and they were able to leave that wretched orphanage for good. Was he simply remembering past events, reminded of them because of his recent time spent at the children's orphanage with Sakura? Either way, it left an unpleasant feeling in his stomach, as if he'd vomited up some toxic waste. Feeling parched, Aaron reached for his water glass on the nightstand with trembling hands. He realized the glass was empty. Taking it, he slammed it into the wall facing his bed. The glass pieces shattered across the wall. His breath was uneven. Why was he so angry right now? What reason did he have to be? Was it because of the dream? Why would he feel infuriated from that? It was a thing of the past. Or was it because he was reminded that even now he felt trapped and powerless? Because he realized that there was no change from then or now? Aaron, what's the matter? Erika asked, bursting into the room, clutching her nightgown around her. By now, she was used to her twin's unpredictable burst of temper, but every time he did, it frightened her, for it was beyond even her to reach out to him at such times, though he was her other half. What was that sound? Don't come into the room. You might step on a piece of glass, Aaron replied in a tone of a voice one would use to state that the weather was sunny. Don't tell me you've broken more glasses, Erika said, sighing. I swear you better get rid of that nasty habit of yours before all the housemates quit. Hey, Erika, Aaron called out as his twin was about to return to her room. What? With a queer expression of self-justification, Aaron said, Strange. It's not as if I don't understand Miho's brother's feeling yet. I loathe him and wish him misery. That family has yet more to suffer. Shrugging, Erika commented, Pity they were born into the Mizuki bloodline. Aaron corrected, Pity all of us were born into our bloodlines. It leaves no space to pity others. That's true, Erika agreed. When have we ever been nice? Being cold, calculating, and manipulative, that's how we have kept up on our feet until now. That's what you always said. We survived this together. We'll truly escape someday, Aaron said, looking down at the shards of glass on the floor. Laughing, Erika scoffed. Escape to where? Sorry, I'm talking nonsense. Go back to sleep. Sorry to wake you. After his twin left the room, puzzled at her twin who never apologized, Aaron slipped out of his bed and walked towards the balcony extended from his room, ignoring the glass shards which cut his bare feet. The night wind was cold. Not that he felt cold. Ever since 9 years ago, he never felt hot nor cold, nor sad nor happy. Emotionless. A figure with a long black cloak stood on top of a nearby tree, and Aaron nodded to it. The magician, sly as a cat and cunning as a mouse. With a magnificent bow to Aaron, the lord of the dark forces, the magician, leaped away and evaporated into thin air, the corner of Aaron's lips curving up. Inflicting misery upon other people's lives was what he lived for. From another part of the neighborhood, not too far from the chain estate, Hiragizawa Iro, residing in the old Reed mansion, also stared out into the neighborhood, graver than he had been in months. It might have been because he had another flash of forevision, or maybe because Tanaka McKay had come to visit Miho again. Even his two most trusted confidants, Ruby Moon and Spinel Sun, let him be, as Iro sighed into the velvet darkness.
It's a relief that there haven't been any earthquakes over the past few months, Nako said, setting down the local newspaper on the table after school during the journalism club meeting. The damage caused the building's pretty considerable, though, Chiharu said, and there's still many patients in the hospital being treated. Holding up a sheet almost full of names of Seiju Junior High students, Miho said, "The articles covering our first encounter doing volunteer work at Kenoshi Hospital was a hit. See, these are all the people who signed up for the volunteer service hours, inspired by our articles." Setting down the list with a satisfied sigh, she said, "Well, that's the hot news. What's the hot news in the newspaper these days?" "Obviously, it's Kaito Magician," Nako said, staring with shining eyes through her glasses at her Kaito Magician scrapbook with every single clip about him from the newspaper. "I wonder what he's up to stealing now. A sapphire ring or a diamond necklace?" I hope he falls down a rooftop and breaks his neck," Malin said through clenched teeth, her broken leg placed on a chair in front of her. She had left the hospital because the doctor refused to keep her any longer, despite her protests. For the past few days, she had learned how to hop around on crutches in Shaoran's apartment, annoying him immensely by knocking over everything and leaving dents in the floor. Today, she was visiting the journalism club. Tomeo had given her a ride to school in her chauffeured car. "No, he would never make such a stupid mistake," Chiharu exclaimed. Then she blinked. "Malin-chan, is your leg okay? How'd you break it anyway? I thought you'd be back in Hong Kong by now." It's nothing. It'll all be healed in a month or so, if I'm careful." Malin waved off. Holding up a pen, she said, "Hey, sign my cast." Then she sighed, fingering the first signature on her cast. "My darling Malin, I have faith in you to always have faith in me." Signed in elaborate English letters, K.M. Her last few days in the hospital had been so boring and tiresome since Kai didn't come visit anymore. He wasn't even at school. Where was he? And why did she always feel concerned when he wasn't around, yet annoyed when he was? "Where are all the journalism club members anyway?" Sakura asked, looking around the vacant room. "Aki-kun is at basketball practice again. Mizuki-kun is absent from school, as usual. Eron-kun too, and I don't know about Shaoran-kun," Takashi said, poking Chiharu's neck with a pen tip, leaving black dots without her knowledge. "Oh yeah, we have the long-awaited field trip to the museum tomorrow," Nako exclaimed. "We will finally be able to see The Thief of the Night piece by the artist Shin-sama. It's getting great popularity these days because the Kaito Magician crisis is beginning again." "Kaito Magician crisis?" Sakura repeated, thinking she didn't like the term at all. I wonder why Syaoran didn't come to school. The students were very eager the next day to go on the long-postponed field trip. After the tedious weeks of studying, after the excitement of the Star-Crossed musical, the students needed a diversion. There were students who cared little about art. However, they were just excited to escape from the class. The key exhibition in the museum was the renowned artist Shin's Thief of the Night piece, currently on loan by the Metropolitan Museum of Fine Arts. It was a fairly large piece set in an intricate rose-design golden frame. The central figure, of course, was the notorious Thief of the Night leaping into the night sky, an indecipherable, lean and agile figure, cloaked in ebony and silhouetted by the full moon, tall skyscrapers in the background. Though the facial features was blurred since the thief's identity was unknown, the distinguishing factor of the painting was the ingenious way in which the paintbrush caught movement, the way the cloak fanned out behind the thief's straight back, the careless toss of the head, the line from the neck to the shoulder, the grace yet ruthlessness present in his lithe form. It was a painting which captured the shapeless wind.
For what seemed like hours, Sakura stood in front of the painting, marveling at how well it captured the spirit of Kaido Magician. Once more, Sakura was deeply impressed by Shin-san's ability to enclose a split second of time into his timeless painting. Look, it says in this pamphlet that Shin-san was inspired to paint this piece after seeing Kaido Magician momentarily leap through his window at his mansion in New York last winter, Chiharu said, reading off the museum's pamphlet. Shin-san said that he was so spellbound by the grace, wildness, and loneliness set on the back of one man when he caught a glimpse of the phantom thief that he lost all reasoning and watched the thief of the night run off without even thinking that something important might have been stolen from him. Not bad. Not bad. An amused, drawling voice came from behind Sakura. But not as good looking as the actual model. Don't you agree, Sakura-chan?
Kai-kun!
Sakura exclaimed, recognizing the arrogant yet smooth tone at once.
You're back?
Did I ever go anywhere? Kai asked, raising an eyebrow.
You actually showed up.
Sakura awed at Kai's nonchalance, yet relieved. Now, if only Syaoran would return. He wouldn't even answer his cell phone. I thought you were hiding out or something. Why do I need to hide out? We have a field trip today, so no schoolwork, Kai said, smiling broadly. You should by now be used to my momentary disappearances. Sighing, Sakura thought, what a simplistic guy. One would think that having your name and picture posted up on the front page of national newspaper for the past week is no big deal at all. Well, maybe it isn't for him. We've all been worrying about you. Oh yeah, and Maylin's been released from the hospital. I know. I was the one who told the doctor to release her, saying that she's fine, but she's just faking her prolonged illness. Kai said, Oops, I wasn't supposed to say that. So, do you have any explanations? Sakura said, crossing her arms. Don't get all tough and mighty like Syaoran-kun and Meilin-chan, Kai said. I thought at least Sakura-chan would be sympathetic. Anyway, I haven't been stealing anything. Really? Then why is your name all over the newspaper? Sakura hissed, careful not to let others overhear their conversation. Beats me. Kai shrugged off, flippant as usual. Have you been seeing the news these days? Sakura asked, exasperated. Another awing piece by Shin-san, Eran mused, walking between Kai and Sakura as he contemplated over the painting. I marvel at the artist for such dramatization of a mere scum. But to an artist, his model is like his own flesh and blood. His masterpiece, his very own child. It's only natural that Shin-san would capture such fire and soul into his painting. As they say, a father is blind to his own child's flaws. Oh, shut up, Eran-kun, pretending to know such things about fine arts, Kai said, shaking his head in disgust. I hate people who try to sound smart with no clue of what they're truly saying. Better than simply being stupid, after all. The ignorant little black bird who wanted to fly to the moon, attracted by its celestial golden glow, died in attempt. Eran replied with an afflicted smile. See you around, Sakura-san. Mizuki-kun. He walked off with a wave of his arm. Damn, I would love to crush that bastard, Kai said through gritted teeth. Say, why do you even bother being civil to him, Sakura? He's not that bad, Sakura replied, staring at Eran's back. He even stopped the earthquakes to prevent innocent people from being injured. And that makes him a martyr, Kai said, crossing his arms skeptically. That Chain Eran, who had eyes which stated boldly that he knew everything about Kaido Magician. Those daunting eyes that made him feel like a crow with wings clipped. As if reading his thoughts, Eran, from down the exhibition hallway, looked back and smirked in his cat-like way before walking on. A piercing note sounded in Kai's ears, and he grimaced at the throb in his eardrums. Even in the stillness of the indoors, an uncanny breeze swept through him. Frowning, Kai asked, "Did you feel it?" "Yeah, it feels like the wave again." Sakura braced herself. "Another earthquake?" "No, the ground was stable." An electrifying aura went through her brain. For a second, everything became silent in the hectic museum, as if sound was blocked. The sensation cleared in a matter of seconds. After eating dinner with her father, Sakura unconsciously headed over to Syaoran's apartment, wondering why he hadn't been showing up at school. Did he catch a cold, maybe? Or was he simply keeping Melanie company? Though seeing Sheen's latest masterpiece was interesting, she had to admit that the long-awaited field trip had been a disappointment, mainly because Syaoran hadn't been there with her. Without much thought, Sakura took out Syaoran's apartment keys and opened the front door. To Kiro-chan residing in her bag, she warned, "Now behave, okay?" There was not a single person in the Lee household who Kiro-chan got along with, including Syaoran, Melanie, and Wolfie-chan. "Humph! Who do you take me for?" Kiro-chan grumbled, flying into the house. "Ha! You surprised me!" Melanie exclaimed, having hobbled over to the front door when she heard it swing open. "How'd you get in?" "Oh, sorry," Sakura apologized. "I forgot to return the keys, and I just opened the door out of habit." "Is Syaoran home? Has he been sick? Why hasn't he come to school for these past few days?" "Well," Melanie hobbled back to the couch. "Actually, he hasn't been home for the past couple of days. After bringing me back from the hospital, he walked out with a duffel bag and told me he had an important errand, so he wouldn't be home for a while. Didn't know it'd be this long. How mean! Still, he apologized to me for leaving me like this and just left." Shaking her head, she muttered, "Learning bad habits from her delinquent next-door neighbor." Kai-kun came to the school field trip today to see his self-portrait, Sakura said, to diverge the subject from Syaoran and hide how shocked she was to hear about Syaoran's sudden disappearance. Why had Syaoran, out of all people, disappeared so abruptly? A desperate feeling crept down her spine. Did something happen? Trying to sound cheerful, she continued, "Now that I think of it, Kai must have gone to the museum to see himself up on the walls." "I just washed my hands of that jerk," Melanie said, tilting her chin up haughtily. "I'm hurt Melanie-chan turned so cold," Kai said, seated on the windowsill and holding his hand to his heart in an exaggerated sorrow. His pet parrot, Yellow today, and perched on Kai's shoulder, echoed, "Ah! So cold! So cold!" Bolting up in annoyance, Melanie demanded, hands on hips, "And who made me this way? Ow!" She put too much pressure on her broken leg and fell over. She muttered, "Oh, I'll never forgive him for banning me in the hospital like that." "Oh, yeah. Melanie-chan, why were you faking illness to stay in the hospital?" Sakura asked. Glaring at Kai, Melanie demanded, "Did you tell her that? You blabbermouth!" "Ow, ow, ow!" Wolfie-chan leaped towards Kai and began nibbling his ankle. Without a second thought, Kai kicked Wolfie-chan away across the room. "Ho, ho, ho! Serves that annoying pup right!" Kiro-chan gloated as the puppy whimpered hurt. "Good. Syaoran-kun's not even here to scowl at me." "Ah, Kai-kun!" Sakura exclaimed in horror, running to help Wolfie-chan up. "Oh, you're absolutely horrid!" Grinning without any remorse, Kai replied, "I know." "Kai-kun, help me up!" came a voice from the window. With the help of Kai, Tomeo climbed in through the window still holding her new camcorder. "What are you doing? Entering through the window, Tomeo-chan?" Melanie asked, aghast. brushing the dust off her dress. Tomeo shrugged, starry-eyed. "Ah, so what? It's fun! Besides, Kai-kun promised to teach me all the methods of becoming an effective spy. So this is just stage 1. Once I master all 10 steps, I will be able to videotape everything I want in secret. I'm not over the disappointment of not being able to record Syaoran-kun and Sakura-chan's secret first kiss." "What first kiss?" Sakura stammered, turning red. There was no hiding anything from Tomeo. Ignoring Sakura, Tomeo dabbed her forehead with a handkerchief. "Whew! But I don't think I'm not up to the physical stamina yet. Oh, I had to use a ladder." Both Sakura and Malin sweat dropped. The ways of a thief simply did not suit Tomeo's genteel disposition. Still, the concept of surreptitiousness did. "So, now that everyone sans Syaoran is gathered, what's for dinner, Malin-chan?" Kai asked. Eyes slanted, Malin said, "Are you even in the state of mind to eat dinner? Or is your brain just addled by the lack of sleep?" "Sheesh! I know it all." "What are you talking about?" Kai asked in a puzzled tone. "Don't you even get tired of being mad at me all the time? I certainly do." "Huh! Do you need evidence?" Malin asked. "Look at it yourself." She turned on the evening news. The announcer reported, "Earlier on today, 4:15 p.m. sharp, Kaito Magician sent a notification card to the artist Shin-san. Kaito Magician's next intended target is none other than Shin-san's Thief of the Night piece, currently exhibited in the Tokyo Museum of Fine Arts. He has stated in his notification card that he will come to steal this piece Sunday evening, 10 p.m. For the past several months, this notorious thief, once on the international top 20 most wanted criminals list, has been stagnant and hidden in the shadows. In fact, he has returned many of the items he has stolen over the past year or so. His motives remain questionable. Yet what is the meaning of this new challenge? We will turn to Chief Inspector on the Kaito Magician case, Daidoji-san, who will explain to us the Tokyo police forces will handle this matter." Tomeo's father, dark-haired and looking sharp, flashed on the TV screen. "Even several days before the day of the Kaito Magician's appearance, the police forces are heightening security in the museum," Daidoji-san stated. "This time, we will make sure we catch the scoundrel who has plagued police forces all around the world, because we now know my Kaito Magician's game. We are fully prepared for him. However, some parts of this case are still a mystery to us. Over the past week, the famed Phantom Thief has been seen in various places in Tokyo. Though there have been some accusations of stolen items, no one has formally filled it with the police yet. Furthermore, it has never been in the Kaito Magician's line to steal paintings, though he will probably stop at nothing. It might have to do with the fact that he is offended with the artist Shin-san for painting him, or he may just be simply a narcissistic person who wants to keep his own portrait." Next, Shin-san flashed on the screen, surrounded by the media and cameras flashing. Stroking his shortly cropped beard, the artist said absent-mindedly, "Why do I think Kaito Magician wants to steal my piece? Well, maybe he just appreciates fine arts. Who knows? Why did I choose him to be my subject for painting when I knew it would cause chaos? As I stated in previous interviews, I was merely fascinated by the human beauty caught in his movement, as if that young man is one with the wind. Oh yeah, I'm sure he's young, no more than 20. Anyway, I wondered if I could capture the wind in my painting, and I think I did, though of course it's only a painting, therefore only an illusion, though a convincing one indeed." Picking up the remote control, Kai turned off the television set. "Oh, what did you do that for?" Malin demanded. "Why, you starting to feel guilty now?" Frowning, Kai said, "I didn't send that notification card." "Oh, I see. I knew not to trust you when you promised me not to steal anymore, huh?" "You didn't send the notification card?" Malin gaped. "No, I didn't. Why would I want to steal that painting?" Kai asked, flashing his sexiest grin. He replied, "The actual model outshines the mere replica." "Huh, Very funny. You can stop lying now. If you didn't send the notification card, then who did? Malin asked. You're the only Kaido magician that I know of, and it had your key signature on it. Well, I don't care if you believe me or not, but I didn't send that notification card. In fact, neither did I steal anything ever since the Five Force treasures, Kai said, leaping out the window. Hopping over to the window on one foot, Malin shouted, Then what are you running away for? And what have you been doing in the nighttime for the past week, and with that ridiculous black cloak draped around your shoulders? From the ground, Kai shouted back, Finding out who's going around posing as me and dirtying my name. What else? Out of earshot, he muttered, And trying to recover something that is very important to me. Slumping down on the sofa again, Malin grumbled. As if I would believe him again time after time. I wouldn't be surprised if he does really get caught this time. Oh, just wait till I tell Syaoran about this. Where is Syaoran anyway? Surely he doesn't know what kind of critical situation he's in right now, talking such holidays. I'm going to go look for Syaoran, Sakura said abruptly. Truthfully, she was far more concerned about Syaoran than Kai at the moment, though she knew Syaoran could take care of himself. I think there's a dark force around, so I better find him. Why hasn't he been coming to school? Has something happened since I met him on Sunday? Though Kai's absences seem normal, I always thought Syaoran was more of a responsible person. Surely he didn't return to Hong Kong. No, he wouldn't leave without telling me. Let's go, Kira-chan. He wouldn't. Would he? Since it was already dark outside, Sakura used the fly card to fly over to Maeda, searching for Syaoran's aura. She flew over familiar areas such as King Penguin Park, the school, her neighborhood, and then flew even further. Why did Syaoran always seem to find her so easily, when it was so hard for her to find Syaoran? Then again, when was she ever put in a situation to desperately search for him? He'd always been by her side. For an instant, she recalled those endless dreams where she had ran and ran, chasing Syaoran's shadow. That brat seems to have hidden himself pretty well, Kiro-chan commented blandly. Why would he hide? Sakura asked rather snappishly, being convinced that Syaoran certainly didn't want to be discovered. She hadn't felt this uneasy since the summer night, when Syaoran and she had been chased by the Tokyo police, as Syaoran left to remove the microchip from Kai's locket while forcing her to wait in the train. She realized she was flying over an unfamiliar neighborhood. Flying nearer to the ground, she realized that it was a wealthy neighborhood, nearer to Itoko, Miho's old neighborhood, than to Maeda. A spark of light caught her eye. Coming closer to the ground, she realized that she was now over a huge mansion with an extensive garden and backyard, and Syaoran's aura was distinct. There was another spark of blue light. Now she could definitely see Syaoran, standing in the bare backyard of the large estate. He was practicing complex sword swings with his father's old sword, which was slightly longer and slimmer than the Five Force sword currently in Kai's possession, like all the other Five Force treasures. A flood of relief rushed through her. Of course Syaoran wouldn't leave the country so suddenly. Syaoran was so intent in practice that he didn't even notice Sakura's presence. First, he took a step back, swinging his sword arm back. Then, taking a step forward, he brought his sword arm down at a deadly precise angle, producing a swishing sound. With his powerful movement, a blue fire slashed out of the blade of his sword, like an electric blue dragon furling out in fury. Whee! Sakura and Kiro-chan leaped out of danger's way as the blast of electricity struck a nearby tree and rebounded out, splintering the tree trunk. The azure light cast over Syaoran's face created a rather eerie expression. Sakura hadn't felt so intimidated by Syaoran since that winter in New York when she was being chased by the stalker. Setting down his sword, Syaoran asked into the darkness of the backyard, astounded. Sakura, is that you? What are you doing here? He held out an ofueda, which provided light to see Sakura's dumbfounded face.
You didn't come to school for the past few days, so I got worried.
Sakura stammered, looking around the backyard, scorched badly, obviously from Syaoran's hours of practicing. The backyard itself had already been in a rundown condition, apparent from the overgrown weeds and unattended shrubs. Suddenly she felt awfully foolish. Of course Syaoran wouldn't just leave without telling her. He must have simply wanted some privacy away from the bothersome people.
Were you busy?
You came looking for me? Syaoran inquired, instead of listening to Sakura's words.
What are you doing here?
Sakura appeared at the ivy and moss-covered walls of the mansion, which was obviously at one time beautiful and well-tended. Now it was neglected and dismal. This is my family's property, Syaoran finally answered, realizing that Sakura was more interested in hearing some sort of explanation. One of the Lee clan's estates in Japan. My father used to live here in a short while when he first moved here to Japan, back when he was 17, before he moved into an apartment near Seiju High. Perfect, because it's large and isolated. Do you want to go in?
Huh?
Okay, Sakura stammered, following Syaoran in through the wooden front door. When they reached the parlor, Syaoran set out ofuedas, which struck themselves to all four walls and lighted the spacious room. He walked up to the fireplace and lighted it with another ofueda. Then he gazed up at the large painting hung up above the fireplace. In awe, Sakura gazed at the painting of a stately and beautiful woman with long jet-black hair which fell straight down to her waist, a pale oval face, and intense, long-lashed eyes that looked golden in one light and deep amber in another, like a tiger's eye and identical to Syaoran's. The majestic lady was dressed in a deep crimson silk traditional Chinese dress, with a 5-4 sword strapped to her back. Sakura whispered, "Wow, she's the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my life. Maybe more beautiful than Mother, though this woman's beauty is different than Mother's, for this lady's face has a strong spirit, great pride and dignity." The flickering of the warm fire lighted the haughty and coldly beautiful face in the painting. Flying up close to the painting, Kiro-chan observed, "This is the great Li Shulin-sama, one of the original Five-Force magicians, and also Clow Reed's mother." "When did the stuffed doll come here?" Syaoran muttered.
"I was here since the beginning, brat," Kiro-chan retorted, eyebrows twitching in annoyance. They say Li Shulin-sama was the most beautiful woman in the history of the Li clan and was considered the greatest beauty in China, maybe all of the eastern lands during her time. "Eyeing Syaoran," he muttered. "Wonder who the brat takes after." "What?" Syaoran began before Sakura cut him off.
"Syaoran has Li Shulin-sama's eyes," Sakura observed. "The exact shade." "They say Mei-lin might resemble Shulin-sama when she grows older," Syaoran commented, "though Mei-lin lacks noble, dignified atmosphere department."
"Yeah, I can see the resemblance," Sakura said, tilting her head.
"I don't see any," Kiro-chan stated. "Li Shulin-sama was beautiful, while that Mei-lin kid simply cannot be called stately or beautiful at all." Staring up at the portrait, Sakura said, "I guess Li Shulin-sama overall ambiance most reminds me of Li Ryuren-san." "My father?" Syaoran asked. Yes, that proud tilt of the stubborn chin, the cool, level gaze of the eye, the arrogant air, and the independent spirit, all was a split image of his father in his youth. "Clausen didn't look much like his mother," Kiro-chan commented. "He took after his English father or more. Anyway, this must have been Shulin-sama's residence back in the Five-Force magician days, when they all gathered in Japan. Clarid's old house was not too far from here. That house used to belong to his father, Lord Landon Reed. If Li Shulin-sama was half as beautiful as in this portrait, it's no wonder Amiya Hayashi-sama and Lord Landon Reed were both head over heels for her. Huh? Sakura looked questioningly at Kiro-chan. Never mind. Hey, brat, why don't you live here too? This is your family estate instead of moving into that apartment 5 years ago. Kiro-chan asked. With a scowl on his face, Syaoran said, Can you imagine cleaning this place, even with Magic Anna Butler? Besides, it's too far from Tomato Elementary School. From here, it's closer to go to Itoku Elementary. Why didn't you just go to Itoku Elementary School then? Supposedly, it's more posh and elite school, Kiro-chan commented. Baka, I had to go to the school where Sakura was attending to be near her to collect the cloud cards, Syaoran replied. Staring around at the dust-covered room, Sakura commented, I think it must be very lonely to live in this huge house all alone. I wonder if Lee Shulin-sama lived here all alone, or with other relatives. She lived here all alone, with just the servants, Syaoran answered. Father used to live here alone too, without any servants, before he moved to an apartment closer to Seiju High. Placing her hand on the dusty mantelpiece, Sakura said, No wonder this house has such a still and lonesome atmosphere to it. Wait, don't touch anything in this house. It's brimming with old magic. Syaoran began, but it was too late. First came the customary blinding light, followed by the darkness which engulfed them. Oh, not another flashback, Kiro-chan groaned. How many times do I have to warn you, Sakura-chan, not to recklessly touch portals in the past? Whee! How was I supposed to know? Sakura cried, yet by now she had figured that these time slips were especially arranged to convey important information from the past. Some 24 years ago. Phew! Why is the house so far from school? 14-year-old Nadesco puffed, walking down the street with directions written on paper in one hand, and Moonstone-chan, a white dumpling-shaped rabbit with oversized ears and wings, in her other. She stopped in front of the huge gate, the entranceway to the intimidating mansion. Wow, what a huge mansion, Nadesco squealed. How do I get in? Flopping its bunny ears, Moonstone replied, Nade-chan, you live in a huge house too. This is even larger, though, Nadesco replied, scrambling over the ivy-covered wall. Whee! She fell over inside the estate grounds. Oh, ouch, my knee! Then her ears pricked at the sound of a violin tune drifting through the garden. By now, she had learned to associate the music with Ryurin. Limping slightly, she walked towards the direction of the music. Is it okay just to invade private property like this? Moonstone whispered, throttled by the stifling silence of the garden. Shh! Nadesco crept up towards the house, craning her neck to get a better view. Her heart thumped as she caught a glimpse of the strange young man she had met a week ago at Clowry's mansion and had a secret, mysterious attraction to. Lee Ryurin, 3 years older than Nadesco, was seated on the banister of the balcony extending out from his room in the second floor, with a thick leather-bound book on his lap and a violin propped against the banister. He wasn't reading, but staring off into space, a wistful expression on his face which always appeared when he thought he was alone. His glossy dark brown hair was pulled back, and a slender midnight blue ribbon that set off his eyes and stirred with a slight breeze. Without looking up from the text, Ryurin demanded, How'd you get here? I climbed over the gate, Nadesco called out, standing straight beneath the balcony. Don't you know that it's illegal? Do you live here all by yourself? Nadesco asked. Ignoring her, he turned the page of the book rather violently. Curiosity overcoming irritation, he demanded, How'd you find your way here anyway? I asked the high school administration office, Nadesco said smugly. After all, we must work together from now on, so it makes sense that I come visit you. How does that make any logical sense? Ryurin demanded. Finally, sighing in exasperation, Ryurin set down his book next to his violin case. Then he swung his legs over the banister and jumped off the second floor balcony, neatly landing in front of Nadesco. Jabbing her forehead with his finger, he said, "Good day, nice to see you. Now go away, okay? You're invading privacy." Bending over to examine the overgrown weed and the tangled greenery, Nadesco commented, "This garden needs some pruning. The weed is choking out all the pretty flowers." "Like I care," Ryurin muttered, rolling his eyes. Then staring straight at Nadesco with his piercing blue eyes, he said, "Go away, I'm busy. Leave while I'm asking you nicely, don't you get it?" He deliberately pronounced the word slower and distinctly. "You're annoying. I can't stand the sight of you. I'm not going to work with you to find the cloud book." When he saw Nadesco's crumpled face, he paused as if regretting his rash words. Then Nadesco smiled brightly, stating, "I was really happy at the thought that we might be able to work together to find the cloud book, contain the cloud cards. Since we ripped the 5-4 scroll, I feel it's my duty to work with you, yet more than a duty, I see it as an opportunity." Heaving a sigh, Ryurin said, "This is what I don't like about you, Amiya Nadesco. So ignorantly optimistic and bright-eyed, thinking everything is fun and games, taking nothing seriously." Shaking her head ruefully, Nadesco replied, "This is what I don't like about you, Ryurin-san. You think everything is a matter of life or death. Come, Lumi-chan, let's go inside." "Hey, wait, where are you going? I didn't give you permission to enter," Ryurin protested in vain. Disregarding him, Nadesco walked down the hallway into the parlor and stared, spellbound, at the portrait of Li Shulin. "She's beautiful, like a goddess." "You look a bit like her," she commented after a while. "Li Shulin-sama?" Ryurin asked. "Not really." "It's not like I can pinpoint a certain feature and say that you resemble her, but I guess something overall." Nadesco trailed off, swiping the dust-covered parlor with one finger. "Don't you ever clean this place?" "No, I never come in here unless some intruder comes and comments on the cleanliness of my house," Ryurin replied, agitated. "I just use my room on the second floor and the kitchen. So those are the only ones I bother to keep clean." "Can I see your room? I've never seen a guy's room before," Nadesco asked without knowing that it was indecent to be so nosy. With a skip, she ran up to the second floor, finding her way to Ryurin's room with ease. As expected, it was extravagantly spacious and somewhat cleaner than the rest of the house. The floor-length windows opened to the balcony, which overlooked the garden. "What's the point of living in such a large house by yourself?" Nadesco questioned when Ryurin finally caught up with her. "I would get so lonely just by the idea that there's so many empty rooms in this house and that I'm all by myself in this huge estate." Then she smiled sadly. "And the great Li Ryurin-sama will reply, 'I never get lonely because I am so brave and mighty.'" "It's true. Don't get such silly notions about my living style," Ryurin asserted. "I'm perfectly fine on my own." At the defiant response, Nadesco stared up at Ryurin's discontent face with sympathetic eyes. "Is that so? But I think it's impossible not to get lonely around 2 or 3 in the morning, when you lie awake in bed in the silence of the night and you think all around you are empty rooms, not another living being near you. And around 2 or 3 in the morning, when you feel all alone, you will want someone to be near you. Maybe your mother to embrace you tightly in her arms, or you may ache to just feel the presence of another human being, the comforting sound of another steady breath besides your own, or yearn for the warmth of a touch or a comforting hand holding yours." With these words, Nadesco came to a pause, realizing that she had been blabbling on, and stared at the floor, red in the face. At first, Ryurin was wordless, staring at her dumbfounded. "What nonsense are you talking about?" Ryurin finally scoffed, his words coming out even more crude than usual. Without asking Ryurin's permission, Nadeshiko sat on his desk chair, leaning her head against the desk. All the happenings these days had left her awfully tired. Trying to warm Ryurin tired her too. Did the lady in the painting, Lishu Lensama, live here too? Yes, Ryurin replied, sitting on his bed, heaving a sigh. It seemed as if this exasperating girl had no intention of leaving any time soon. She was one of the great 5 sorcerers of the olden days. Shulin-sama was also the one-time chosen one of the Lee clan. Like you? I remember she was holding that sword that you wield, Nadeshiko commented, stifling a yawn. Wait, she must be Cloud Reed's son's mother then, right? Yeah, she gave up the title the Chosen One because she chose to marry Lord Landon Reed of England, another one of the Great 5. If Lee Shulin-sama was anything like you, she must have sacrificed many things for the sake of love, Nadeshiko said, eyelids heavy with sleepiness after days of using her sight to look into the past and decipher vital information. After all, being the chosen one of the Lee clan is supposed to be the greatest honor possible, isn't it? With a cruel smile, Ryurin said, Well, darling little romantist, they say that Lee Shulin-sama regretted marrying the aristocratic bastard Landon Reed-sama, Cloud Reed's haughty and proud father. Betraying the clan is no simple matter, you know. And you know what the more ironic thing is? It is said that Lee Shulin-sama didn't even love Reed-sama in the first place. She only married him for the sake of defying the clan. Or maybe it's revenge on her first love, Amiya Hayashi-sama of Japan. Yet another one of the Great 5.
She's not listening at all, Moonstone muttered. She fell asleep.
Great, Ryurin said, poking Nadeshiko's side. Just wonderful. Hey, thief girl, wake up.
Oh, let her be. Unlike someone, she's been working hard each night, researching the Dark Ones, Moonstone chided. She's really been trying her best, cooperating with a grouchy, unsupportive, and selfish partner.
Why do you always stick up for her, bunny head? Ryurin grumbled, making me the bad one.
Well, you only slapped her, sprained her wrist, and
Moonstone jabbered on. Oh, shut up, Ryurin snapped, staring at Nadeshiko's tranquil, sleeping face. Only someone as ignorant as her could have such a dumb, sleeping expression.
And inside you're thinking, has an angel fallen in the room through the window? Aren't you? Moonstone said slyly. Anyway, Nari-chan and I found out something interesting about the Dark Ones.
What? Ryurin asked, clearly uninterested.
The Dark Ones are descendants of one of the Great 5, Chain Ryuchi-sama, who had a Chinese father and Japanese mother. Supposedly, he had a twin sister, Chain Risa, who had the gift but had poor health, so never grew to reach her full potential power. Not much is known about her at all, since she was her twin's shadow. Her name rarely comes up in the magic world's history, since she was not one of the Great 5. One way or another, Chain Ryuchi-sama eventually turned against the other members of the Circle of the 5 Forest Treasures and broke the bond of the Great 5, sinking deeper and deeper into black magic, supposedly because he was betrayed by the other Great 4. After death, Ryuchi-sama and his twin sister's vengeful spirits possessed the souls of each twin born in the chain line, hungry for revenge, finishing unfinished business.
Twins of the chain line? Ryurin repeated blankly. Thinking about it, there's a guy with the surname Chain in my class. He transferred from Shanghai or something, but as far as I'm concerned, he doesn't have a twin.
Trust me, there must be a twin hiding somewhere, or else the Dark Ones wouldn't have been able to regain power, Moonstone said.
Until now, I always thought the Dark Ones had reincarnated themselves. Instead, they revived themselves and developed their powers through possessing the souls of the twins of their blood. Interesting. So, It was a curse in the chain bloodline. Ryuren was left to ruminate.
Well, Nari-chan has spent the past couple of days trying to dig up information from the past with her special powers, so she must be exhausted by now. And she came all the way here to tell you this, but you were so supportive of her, Moonstone scolded. So you better leave her alone while I go out and check if the Dark Ones are up to anything. Saying this, Moonstone flew out of the room, snickering, "Hee hee hee. Perfect love atmosphere for them without my presence."
Staring at Nadesco's placid face, Ryuren muttered, "Such an idiot. Doesn't she know better than to fall asleep in a stranger's bedroom? She's lucky I'm a decent guy." Roughly, he nudged her shoulder. "Hey, thief girl, go home and sleep. It's evening already. Your parents must be worrying about you, Half opening her ocean green eyes, Nadesco murmured in a sleepy voice, "Don't have parents. And grandfather's away on a business trip anyway." "So no one's home for you either, eh?" Ryuren asked, quietly hiding his shock at learning that Nadesco was an orphan. How was she so bubbly and happy then? It made no sense to him. Could it be that she too was lonely and lost deep inside, yet managed to fool everyone with that cheerful smile? "Hey, if you sleep here, you're going to get a backache. Here, sleep on the bed." Gently, Ryuren helped her up. Obediently, Nadesco stood and sleepwalked as Ryuren guided her by holding her hand and walking her slowly towards the bed. Collapsing onto the bed without protest, Nadesco continued to sleep without any awareness of where she was. Neither did she let go of Ryuren's large hand. "Hey, let go," Ryuren said half-heartedly, staring at Nadesco's slender white hands grabbing onto his single forefinger with surprising insistence. "Don't leave me alone," Nadesco murmured. "I don't want to be left alone again." "Shh, I won't leave you, all right? See, you're a little girl after all." With his free hand, Ryuren drew the blanket over Nadesco, still in her school uniform. She did not stir, for she was now in deep sleep, her eyes closed and fluttering ever so slightly. He bent over her head, so close that his lips could almost touch her cheek. Her steady, soft breath blew on his cheek, and her chest heaved up and down in a content sigh. The hand grabbing his own was warm and somewhat comforting, like a baby's hand. Carefully, Ryuren stroked Nadesco's cheeks, which were flushed. Until now, he had not known how soft a person's skin could be, like the skin of a golden pink peach. Yes, this was the feeling of having another living being next to you, this safe, reassuring and soothing feeling. Until now, Ryuren had not known what it meant to be lonely. Ever since he was a child, he had lived alone in one of the many large houses in the League grounds, with some servants, near the house of the great elder, yet having this girl sleeping so peacefully on his bed made him realize how forlorn he had been until now. How after she left, he would lie awake at 3 a.m, listening to the stillness of the night without hearing another single human breath besides his own jagged breathing, or the comforting warmth of a touch, and he would have the dreadful awareness that all around him were empty rooms, without another living soul near, that he was alone in that huge house, left to smother in the silence. Such a dumb girl, thinking that someone as I would know what loneliness is, he muttered, taking a strand of her long, glossy curl and bringing it to his lips. I hate simplistic, stupid girls like you, he continued half-heartedly. I have to get out of this house, he thought to himself, before his eyes started to grow heavy also. In his kneeled position on the floor next to the bed, her hair smelled of sweet spring flowers, glazed in morning dew. "Hey, Syaoran," Sakura said, cheeks pink, when they found they had returned to their time in front of Li Shulin's portrait. "Why do we always run into our parents' mushy scenes?" With slanted eyes, Syaoran heaved a sigh. "Ugh, beats me. Maybe that's all they did, have lovey-dovey moments."
"Humph! You have no right to say anything," Kiro-chan muttered, recalling several distinct incidents. Realizing that he was likely to earn a blow on the head from Syaoran's thunder fist, Kiro-chan quickly added, "Anyway, we seem to have learned some valuable information."
"Yes, I didn't realize that there was a curse on all the twins born in the chain bloodline," Sakura said, carefully thinking things out.
"Which means that Eron and Eureka's souls must be possessed by the original legendary Dark Ones, Chain Ryuichi-sama and Chain Risa-sama. They are bounded by blood to carry out the revenge of their ancestors, though they have their own mind. I figured out some time ago that they probably weren't mere reincarnations of the original Dark Ones like Cloud-san and Iro-kun. Neither were they merely chosen ones of their family. That's it. I'm sure Eron-kun and Eureka-chan want to escape from the curse, but can't because of family honor and revenge business. That's why we must save them. Then everything will be okay."
Sakura clapped her hands together in excitement. In disgust, Syaoran said, "As if it's that simple, as a matter of saving someone." "What?" Sakura's eyebrows furrowed down in deep frustration. She hadn't been this irritated by Syaoran's words since her encounter with the Fate. "Eron and Eureka are not so stupid as to be controlled by their ancestors because of a curse," Syaoran continued. "They are aware of their own actions, and that they are borrowing their power from Ryuichi-sama and Risa-sama doesn't change the fact that those two are the ones plotting and taking action against us, and those two are the modern world's Dark Ones. Their souls are being controlled, not their minds or hearts."
"Why would Eron and Eureka want to attack us unless they're being controlled by the original Dark Ones?" Sakura asked. "If we remove the ancestor spirits controlling Eron and Eureka, then we won't have to harm them, and everything will be resolved. Though that itself, of course, is not that easy." Shaking his head, Syaoran muttered, "What will you do when you no longer have me around to look over you and warn you of all the wolves in sheep clothing out there? Can't you tell that those two are acting on their own accord? That they're the ones scheming, plotting, and manipulating us?" Agreeing with Syaoran for a change, Kiro-chan added, "Really, the wolf kid has a point there. What will you ever do without him around?" Ignoring both Syaoran and Kiro-chan, Sakura pointed up at the treetops where a figure in a long black cloak was jumping from tree to tree, quick as the wind. "Look, isn't that Kaido magician?" "What's he doing?" Syaoran asked, peering up. "Looks like the rumors must have been true," Sakura said ruefully. "I wanted to trust Kai-kun so much. It said on the news that his next target is the Thief of the Night Piece by Shin-san." "Whatever does that guy have in mind?" Syaoran asked. "Hey, we better start heading back. It's getting really late." "You still didn't tell me why you didn't come to school for the past few days," Sakura reminded as they walked out of the house and Syaoran carefully locked the front door. I was simply meditating," Syaoran said, "and thinking things over." "What for?" "To become a wiser person," Syaoran said flatly. "Though I realize that the more one seeks for wisdom, the more foolish one becomes." "That's funny. It doesn't sound like something that would come from you," Sakura chuckled. "Also, I was training for a higher level sword wielding technique that my cousin Leon has been teaching me before he disappeared," Syaoran continued. "Though I learned many things over the past 6 years after his disappearance, I could never bring myself to master that technique. Recently, I had the inspiration to resume training, kind of a self-test to see how far I've come in terms of my powers."
And did you master the technique now?
I guess. It's supposed to work better with the 5-4 sword, though,
Syaoran said, gazing sheepishly at the scorched garden. Amazing, Sakura clapped. Syaoran was in an extensive training session. But still, you shouldn't skip school like that.
Did I make you worry?
Syaoran asked, raising a dark eyebrow. Looking down at her feet, Sakura replied frankly, well, yes. For some, Syaoran looked satisfied. Then she blurted out, I thought you were called back to Hong Kong again or something. With one of his rare, heartwarming smiles, Syaoran said,
as if such a thing would happen. I'm sorry. I promise I won't disappear without warning you first.
I would rather that you promise that you simply won't disappear. Sakura returned in a lightly joking manner. You're quite prone to do so without any notice. Inside her heart, Sakura sighed in relief. Truthfully, she really had worried when Syaoran had disappeared for the past few days. She thought something had happened. Yet all her worries evaporated with Syaoran's warm smile. Syaoran was thoroughly relieved that Sakura didn't ask any further questions. As they walked out of the gates, he commented,
I must say, your mother's sixth sense was amazing. She could find out everything about the past with her powers. In that aspect, she must be almost on par with the great Clow Reed. Speaking of Clow Reed, doesn't that person look familiar?
Hovering to the person pacing down the street in a listless, un-Iro-like manner, Kiro-chan asked, What are you doing here? Iro-kun, is that you? Sakura called into the dark streets.
Ah, Sakura-san?
Iro stared up, startled. What are you doing here at this time? Sakura asked. Is there a dark forest near here? Regaining composure, Iro replied, I was just taking a walk. Is Miho-chan with you? Sakura looked around to find that Iro was alone.
She's out with Tanaka Mikei-san,
Iro said in a tired voice.
Oh, and by the way, you probably knew it too, but there are at least 5 dark forces hovering around simultaneously for the past few weeks, though they have been somewhat latent.
5? Sakura counted off. Let's see. The wave, the riddle, and...
Well then, see you at school tomorrow.
Iro walked off muttering,
Li Syaoran's getting stronger and stronger. Better watch out for him.
Sakura and Syaoran gazed at each other quizzically. For a split second, Sakura felt a popping sensation in her ears and the aura of the wave. Something's wrong with Iro these days, Kiro-chan commented, circling over Iro's head and returning. He looks really down for some reason. Not at all like his usual self. Shrugging, Syaoran said,
Who cares about that eccentric freak? Well, I'm finished training and meditating, so we can return now. Let's go, Sakura.
Sakura stared off into the shrubs, blankly.
Sakura, let's go.
There was no response from her. Stomping in front of her, he repeated,
Don't you want to return now? Your brother must be worrying again.
Staring at him blankly, Sakura asked, Did you say something?
Don't joke around. Come on, let's go,
Syaoran said impatiently. Blinking, Sakura said, Your mouth is moving, but I can't seem to hear a single word you're saying.
I said, let's go back now,
Syaoran shouted into Sakura's ears. That tickles, Sakura said, rubbing her ear.
Stop playing games, stupid, ugly, silly crybaby,
Syaoran shouted once more. Then it dawned over him. His eyes slanted and he gazed around. definitely the aura of the wave. Then he stared at Sakura.
Sakura, can you hear any sound at all?
Sakura stared at him questioningly, tilting her head. I feel like you're talking to me, Syaoran, but strange. I can't hear anything at all.
Sakura, can you even hear me? Kira-chan asked, floating onto her shoulder. Then he screamed into her ear. Wah! Sakura baka!
Syaoran grimaced at the loudness, though Sakura simply giggled. That tickles even more. Shaking his head, Syaoran said,
She can't hear anything. The wave has struck again, this time manipulating sound waves.
Having no idea what Syaoran was saying, Sakura asked, It's a dark force again, isn't it? This happened earlier on today in the museum. Also, though, it got better in a few minutes, but now I can't hear a single sound. Is this what it feels like to be deaf? Patting Sakura's head, Kira-chan said, Oh, poor Sakura-chan. We don't even know where the wave is, so who knows how long you won't be able to hear any sound. Staring hopelessly at Syaoran, Sakura collapsed onto her knees. Oy! This is so frustrating, not being able to hear anything. What am I going to do at school tomorrow? Heedless of her affliction, Sakura went to school the next day. Tomeo learned about Sakura's situation at once and tried her best to help Sakura during all conversations by always answering for Sakura for any questions directed to her. However, class time was a huge problem.
Florence was the center of the glory and the flowering of culture and art during the Renaissance, and therefore...
The teacher trailed off, agitated by the fact that Kinemoto Sakura was staring off into space.
Kinemoto-san, can you stand up and read out page 156?
Without paying any heed, Sakura continued to stare out into space.
Kinemoto-san, are you deaf? Stand and read the passage,
the teacher repeated as the classmates giggled. Nudging Sakura, Tomeo showed the edge of her notebook on which she had written, Stand up and read page 156. Snapping back into reality, Sakura bolted up from her desk. Sorry, Sensei. The class laughed harder, though Sakura couldn't hear their laughter. She fumbled to find her place in the history book.
Kinemoto-san, if you don't pay attention during lessons, there's no need for you to be here. Go stand in the hallways, the teacher snapped. Daidoji-san, stop writing notes to Kinemoto-san. It's distracting. Now, Kinemoto-san, do you think I'm joking? Go stand in the hallway.
Still, Sakura paid no heed to him, flipping through the pages of the textbook, and Tomeo, with the watchful eyes of the teacher on her, couldn't pass any more notes to Sakura. Finally, Sakura looked up at the front of the room, confused to see the teacher red in the face and ready to explode. Helplessly, she stared around, searching for some indication as to what the teacher had been saying. Though she could see the teacher's lips moving, she had no clue what was being said. Never did she know how helpless one could feel without any sound at all. Now the teacher was pointing at her and shaking his finger furiously.
Sakura, listen to me.
A gentle voice, or was it a voice, sounded in her mind. Yes, she was hearing a voice, but not exactly hearing it because her ears caught no sound. Yet the words were distinctly Syaoran's. How could she hear him?
Sakura, the teacher's really mad right now because you've been ignoring his words for the past half hour. He got mad at Tomeo for writing you notes, and now he's telling you to go stand in the hallway.
Syaoran's mind voice continued. Stand in the hallway? Sakura repeated out loud.
Shh! Hurry and apologize, or else he's going to fail you on the history exam next week," Syaoran warned her.
Wait, okay. Sensei, I'm really sorry for not listening in class,
Sakura said. Since she couldn't hear her own voice, she talked unnecessarily loudly.
I was distracted because of lack of sleep.
Thinking the girl was being impertinent now, the teacher placed his hands on his hips and stated, "Do you think that is a valid reason? Students these days, they have no respect for their studies. Probably likely that you were out late at night with your boyfriend."
Hui?
Sakura tilted her head, wondering what the teacher was saying so rapidly. Concentrating in her mind, she asked Syaoran, "What is the teacher saying now?" Syaoran turned red. "Nothing important. I think the teacher is not in a very good mood today. Maybe you better just skip this lesson and go stand outside."
No, Oni-chan's gonna kill me if he finds out that I got in trouble during school,
Sakura returned. Why was the teacher picking on only her? She sighed. There, the teacher went off again, talking rapidly and making drastic hand movements. Kai, who was sitting on his desk beside Syaoran for the first time in a long time, snapped his finger underneath the desk. "Little present for little Sakura-chan."
Kya! Sensei, there's a snake on the floor!
One of the students shrieked. The teacher leaped away to find a skinny black snake hissing as it slithered towards him. Hoo-ah! At first, Sakura started around confused as the attention seemed to be taken away from her and the teacher supposedly seemed to be dancing on the desk. Then she spotted the snake on the floor. She turned to stare at Kai, who nodded and grinned. "Whew, saved for the time being," Sakura murmured, sitting down again. "Whew." Syaoran wiped the sweat off his brows. He felt even more relieved that Sakura, since unlike her, he and the rest of the students could hear what the teacher had been saying to Sakura. "Having an amateur magician, professional thief as a classmate comes in handy, doesn't it?"
Yep, I will eternally be grateful to Kai-kun.
Sakura smiled weakly when Tomeo shot her an apologetic look for not being able to help out. Once more, Kai snapped his fingers, and the snake turned into a long black silk scarf which exploded into a shower of glitter of black and silver confetti. The girls who had been screaming squealed with excitement. "Always with useless tricks and full of inflated ego," Eron commented snidely from several seats away. "Poor puppet of Chain Ryuchi-sama," Kai muttered with equal spite. Out of the corner of his eyes he caught Eron's poisonous glare, followed by a threatening grin, and shrugged it off. Yet that smile caught him. Eron meant no good with that smile. A piercingly high note sounded in his ears, and Kai tumbled forward onto his desk, clutching his ears. In the current chaos of the class, nobody noticed.
Yummy. Lunch never tasted better,
Sakura stated out loud, stuffing her mouth with goodies made by her father.
Thanks, Syaoran, for coming here and eating with me.
They were eating lunch on the roof of the school building, away from the crowd of people to avoid the chance that someone might try to initiate conversation with Sakura. Tomeo had lunchtime choir practice, so Syaoran was accompanying her.
"No problem. I like it better up here, away from all the noise,"
Syaoran answered through telepathy, carefully sneaking away one of Sakura's fried shrimps with a graceful swish of his chopsticks when she wasn't looking. Munching on her egg rolls, Sakura commented through mind talk.
This way of conversation is pretty convenient also. I can talk while eating without having to worry about etiquette, since I don't need to open my mouth.
"You chew with your mouth open, so I can see everything that's in your mouth anyway,"
Syaoran replied, snaking his chopstick back to Sakura's bento to sneak out another fried shrimp. I do not, Sakura retorted, turning red. Then she slammed her chopstick in front of her bento before Syaoran could snatch another shrimp.
Cheap? Who fed you and housed you for months? I even cooked for you.
Syaoran knocked aside Sakura's chopstick victoriously. Lashing back, fencing style, with her chopstick, she retorted, These shrimps are my favorite. Besides, who did your laundry and cleaned the house and taught you how to rollerblade?
Ew. You have food smeared all over your face, Sakura.
Where? Sakura touched her face, frantically turning red. Had she made a mess? Using her distraction as an opportunity, Syaoran speared his chopstick through the last fried shrimp and popped it into his mouth.
Just kidding.
What? You tricked me? Oh, Syaoran, I'll get you back. You're worse than Oni-chan.
Too bad you didn't get to eat any shrimps. They were the best yet. And even better because they're stolen from you. I kind of understand why Kai takes pleasure in stealing goods.
Initially, Sakura pouted, then she burst out laughing for a change. She hadn't burnt the fried shrimps while making them that morning. In ways, she should feel flattered that Syaoran was eating them so happily after complaining day after day that they were burnt. To herself, she thought, it's almost as if we're a couple eating lunch together on the rooftop. Him eating the shrimps that I made, bickering, reading each other's mind, laughing together so curiously.
Did you just say something?
Syaoran asked, staring at her curiously. Wait, I didn't say anything. Sakura shifted a few seats back. Telepathy was a bit unnerving at times, too. Who knew which parts of her mind Syaoran could read? Come to think of it, how could they use telepathy?
Silly, we've been using this method of communication unconsciously for a long time. It's just that you've learned how to control it today.
Yes, it was true that at certain times she seemed to know exactly what Syaoran was thinking without any words, especially in times of emergencies. Even more often, he seemed to be able to read her mind so easily. She told him, well, either way, thanks for helping me out today during history class. I was really surprised when I could hear your voice in my mind, however. It was distinctly yours, yet I knew I couldn't hear anything, so I was very confused. Yet, now that I think of it, I may have heard your voice in my mind many, many times before. Telepathy is one of the rare abilities, even in those of the sixth sense, after all.
I probably am able to hear your mind long before you could hear mine,
Syaoran stated out loud.
It's because I understand you better than you understand me.
As if you could understand things about me so easily, Sakura scoffed, rather agitated but flattered.
You're a rather transparent and simplistic person, Sakura. That's not an insult either,
Syaoran said. Then he frowned.
Hey, you heard what I said.
Obviously, Sakura said, crossing her arms. You want me to repeat it to you? You said that I was transparent and simplistic. A more polite form of telling me I'm dense and naive, isn't it?
No, I mean, I just said it out loud and you heard it. It means you regained your hearing again.
Wow, you're right. I can hear your voice, Sakura exclaimed, clapping in joy. And I can hear the school bell chime and the birds chirp. Oh, it feels like a new world having my auditory sense back. Funny, I was getting so used to mind talk that I didn't realize I had my hearing back for a while.
Silly Sakura. So easy to please.
Syaoran chuckled to himself. I'm not silly, Sakura scowled.
I didn't mean for you to hear that, Syaoran said, dismayed. This is going to cause problems with telepathy.
Why? Do you often insult me in your mind? Sakura asked suspiciously.
Not often, Syaoran replied.
That means you do, occasionally.
I never said that, Syaoran protested. Then he grinned lopsidedly, making Sakura even more suspicious as he thought, but you'll never be able to listen to my innermost heart, Sakura. Did you know that? The one I am thinking in right now, wishing I can just stay like this forever, ignoring the idiotic Lee clan, not caring if I'm a disgrace to my family, wishing that I did feel uneasy and guilty, despising myself for feeling ashamed of myself, for betraying my family.
After school ended, Sakura caught up with Kai. Kai-kun! Kai-kun! He didn't turn around. As usual, he had on headphones. Jumping in front of Kai, Sakura repeated, Kai! Thanks during class time.
Huh?
Kai turned around and stared into Sakura's face.
Hey, Sakura-chan, what'd you say?
I said, thanks for the snake thingy in class, Sakura repeated patiently.
Oh, no problem.
Kai replied slowly. The rock music was clearly heard from the headphones.
Oh, wow, you listen to music very loudly, Sakura commented. Doesn't it hurt your eardrum?
Huh? No, not really,
Kai replied, reaching for the volume control and decreasing it.
Well, see you around.
Waving, Kai walked off quickly. Strange, Sakura murmured.
Why?
Tomeo asked.
Another one of her epiphanies, I guess,
Syaoran muttered. I get it now, Sakura said. Kai! Kai, wait up! Sprinting, Sakura caught up to Kai again. He didn't stop until she blocked his path. Kai-kun, take off your headphones for a moment.
Okay.
Kai took off his headphones. Syaoran, say something from behind there, Sakura told him in her mind.
Hey, Kai, what do you want for dinner tonight?
Syaoran asked, dumbfounded, staring directly behind Kai. Kai didn't answer. Kai, why aren't you answering Syaoran's question? Sakura asked slyly.
Huh? Oh, sorry, I didn't quite catch it.
Kai replied, turning around to see Syaoran standing directly behind him. Sakura frowned. I don't get it. I'm pretty sure the wave is blocking out Kaiken's hearing. Probably went to him after it left me. Yet, how does he reply to all my questions? Staring at Kai suspiciously, she demanded, Do you have telepathy also?
Empathy? No, I'm not an empathetic person,
Kai replied dumbly. I said telepathy. Do you have telepathic skills? Sakura repeated slowly.
Oh, telepathy? No. Why?
Then how are you answering all my questions when you can't hear anything? Sakura demanded.
What makes you so convinced that I've lost my hearing skills?
Kai laughed, heading towards his motorcycle, starting his engine and roaring off. Strange, Sakura murmured. Very strange. Slanting his eyes, Syaoran asked,
Why do you always pay so much attention to that rascal?
Why are you so jealous? Sakura laughed.
Of course not,
Syaoran retorted, much too quickly.
He's not worth wasting your brain cells on. That's all.
Maylin was surprised when Miho and her older brother visited her at the apartment in the afternoon. I thought you might be bored by yourself since Syaoran-kun has after-school soccer practice today, Miho said. Since I didn't have journalism club meeting, I came to visit you with Oni-chan. You haven't met Oni-chan yet, right? To Maylin, she introduced, This is my brother, Tanaka Miike. To the lean boy with a pleasant expression standing next to her, she said, This is Syaoran-kun's cousin from Hong Kong, Lee Maylin.
Nice to meet you,
Miike said, nodding his head and smiling warmly. Mei Lin blushed. This handsome young man standing in front of her was a split image of an older version of the 12-year-old boy in Miho's picture. The clean, preppy, mature atmosphere made a complete combination of her complete ideal guy. Well, aside from Syaoran, who was her ultimate ideal guy. Nice to meet you. I've heard a lot about you from Miho-chan, Mei Lin stammered. Over the next hour or so, Mei Lin discovered that indeed Tanaka McKay was not only nice to look at, but had perfect manners with the right amount of attentiveness, a calm, charming voice, and a melting smile. He was too good to be true. Now she could understand why Miho idolized her brother so much. By late afternoon, Syaoran with Sakura and Tomeo returned to the apartment. They were surprised to see Miho and her brother there already.
Lee-san, Kenemoto-san, Daidoji-san,
Mikei recollected, greeting them. Grouchily, Syaoran headed off to the kitchen, realizing he had to prepare dinner for large company that night.
Tanaka-san, where have you spent your time in the past few years? Tomeo asked, sipping a cup of tea set by Syaoran.
Taking a sip of his cup, Mikei replied,
Various places, England, the United States, and even China. Actually, I heard news that my little sister was staying with a relative in England. I went there, only to find that she was away in New York. So I went there. Finally, I learned she went back to Japan, so I finally came here to meet her after more than 4 years.
Have you visited your mother yet?
Sakura asked. Nodding his head ruefully, Mikei answered.
Briefly, but unfortunately she wasn't in the state to recognize me. Mother's sickness took another turn lately, so she might have been shocked to see me after such a long disappearance. I haven't realized how serious her illness was. We haven't been able to visit her ever since.
He looked down at his hands pitifully.
I've always thought that Miho was with her mother, not all on her own, and I realize what an incompetent son and brother I have been.
Ni-chan, we've been through this before. I was okay. Mother too. At least we can all be together very soon, Miho said, squeezing her brother's hand. And we can sort everything out with Mother too.
Mikei smiled, though the guilt and rue on his face didn't disappear. Sakura was rather surprised that they had finally went to meet their mother. Then she noticed that Tomeo was videotaping Mikei raptly.
Tomeo-chan, what are you doing? Oh, Tanaka-san looks even better on screen, Tomeo stated. Oh, his hair is absolutely amazing.
Mikei laughed good-naturedly at the camcorder pointed in his direction.
Dinner's ready,
Syaoran called from the dining room. To his annoyance, he heard loud music booming from next doors.
Mei Lin, go get Kai also. I have enough servings for one more person. Oh yeah, your leg. I better go.
No, it's fine, Mei Lin said. I am an expert on crutches now. Without bothering to knock, Mei Lin swung open Kai's front door. Kai! Her voice was drowned in the music. She hobbled right in front of Kai, leaning back on the sofa, and poked him with her crutch. He looked up, startled. Come eat dinner, Mei Lin said. Oh yeah, Miho-chan and her brother's over. Mikei-san's simply awesome. Oh yeah, you saw him last time, right? Isn't he marvelous? He's just my ideal type of guy.
I thought Syaoran was, Kai said darkly. Girls are such unfaithful creatures.
Oh, shut up, Mei Lin said. Still, Kai followed her to Syaoran's apartment for dinner. However, unlike his usual talkative self, he did not speak a single word throughout the meal, and people soon gave up trying to initiate conversations and left him to brood on his own. Miho and Mikei left early after thanking Syaoran for the delicious meal. Still eating dessert of apple pie with vanilla ice cream, Sakura commented, I wonder how Miho is so certain that Mikei's son is really her brother.
Oh, I asked her a while ago, Tomeo said, and she said there's no doubt about it. Mikei-san had a certain token which proves that he's the real Tanaka Mikei.
Besides, how can there be any doubt? Malin asked. He looks exactly like the Tanaka Mikei in Miho's old photograph.
That's true, but I wonder why Mikei-san left his family in the first place, Sakura commented.
She looked up as Kai walked towards the door. Kai-kun, where are you going? Without looking back, Kai leaped out the window and in a matter of seconds was leaping across the rooftop of the adjacent building. Into criminal activities again, Malin said. God, what an idiot he is. He really is an idiot, Sakura repeated sadly. The next evening was the appointed day of the thief of the night piece was to be stolen. Something smells fishy, doesn't it? What does? Malin asked. We've got to help out Kai-kun, Sakura stated resolutely. But he doesn't want any help, Malin protested, suddenly recalling that one rainy day at the graveside when Kai had leaned his head against her shoulder, as if the weary of the world, weary of the show. At school the next day, everyone was brimming with tension because the next day was the anticipated day of Kaido Magician's appearance to steal the thief of the night piece. After classes ended, Sakura waited in front of the school gate for Kai to come out. She had noticed that Kai was distracted throughout the entire day, though he usually didn't pay attention to the happenings of the school anyway. He did seem slightly precarious because he couldn't hear anything, or so she believed. Kai was surprised to see Sakura standing around for him.
Are you waiting for the right person?
Kai asked, raising an eyebrow.
Shadow's still at soccer practice.
Head turned away from Kai, Sakura commented, I want to offer you help. There was no response from Kai. Facing Kai, Sakura asked, Hey Kai, one question I've been meaning to ask you. Tell me, how could you communicate with me and other people for the past few days, even if the wave blocked out your hearing senses? I certainly couldn't hear anything when I was being affected. Sighing, Kai said,
Persistent, aren't you? I'll tell you, it's true, I can't hear a single word you're saying.
Then how? Sakura was cut off.
But I learned how to read lips during my days in the streets. Though I'm not particularly good at it, I can still make out what people are saying.
Oh, that explained why Kai could answer all her questions when she faced him, but couldn't when the speaker was not in front of him so he could read the lips. But I wonder why you're being affected by the wave. What can the Dark Ones want out of you?
Revenge for stealing the chain's treasure, maybe? Kai said. Don't you know, I've been their target for the last several dark forces. Ever since the age.
But why? Maybe. That must be so... Sakura murmured on her own. I just have one question to ask you, Mizuki Kai. What do you think of Miho's older brother?
Tanaka Mikei?
Kai asked, quirking an eyebrow over his blue-shaded glasses. Without much hesitation.
A coward, a fraud, a boneless piece of scum.
I'm talking about the real one, Sakura said quietly.
So am I,
Kai replied. Not the one Miho-chan met at the archery contest, Sakura said. I don't think he's the real one.
Why? Miho seems convinced he's the real one,
Kai said indifferently. That's because he had some sort of token or proof that he was Tanaka Mikei, Sakura said. But something's fishy about him. He's too perfect to be true.
That's wonderful. but it doesn't concern me, Kai said shortly.
I thought you might know who Miho's real brother is, Sakura continued.
I'm sorry, but I don't. As far as I'm concerned, the one she's going around with is her brother, and I see no reason to suspect him, Kai said firmly.
Oh, is that so? Sakura replied, disappointed, watching Kai walk off. In the distance, she could see Tanaka Mackay waiting for Miho as he did every day after school. From behind her came a quiet voice.
Are you suspicious of Tanaka Mackay also?
Sakura spun around to face Iro, his glasses shimmering in the bright hospital light.
That one. He seems like a human. Not a dark force yet. Something's not quite right,
Iro continued, indicating his head towards the young man greeting Miho, who had walked past Sakura and Iro without greeting.
I've been watching Tanaka Mackay for days, but I haven't figured out what he's up to yet. As of yet, he hasn't laid a finger on Miho.
And you didn't speak to Miho-chan about it? Sakura asked, surprised.
No, how can I? How can I crush her ecstatic happiness?
Iro asked rather ruefully.
I know better than anyone else how miserable she has been and how rapturous she is now. I may be a coward because I certainly don't have the guts to tell her the truth. Even if I told her, she wouldn't believe me.
I thought he must be a dark force, Sakura ruminated, but I was put off because he doesn't radiate any abnormal aura at all. In fact, he just feels like a normal human. Turning in surprise to Sakura, Iro asked,
Then why do you figure that he might not be Miho's brother?
It's just my suspicions from the beginning, Iro-kun, Sakura replied, smiling sadly. It was Sunday, and the day of Kaido Magician's supposed appearance to steal the Thief of the Night piece from the Tokyo Art Museum. From early on in the morning, police officers were stationed at all exits and entrances to the museum, and streets were blocked off. Zooming into the anticipated crime scene with her camcorder, Tomeu commented, "Ooh, security's very tight. No space to slip in at all. How are you going to get anywhere near the museum, Kai-kun?"
I don't think getting in would be much of a problem, but getting out will be difficult. With all the media and people roaming around, Syaoran added.
"I'm sure Kai-kun has it all planned out," Sakura reassured. "But Kai, last time you were almost caught. You do know you might get a life sentence in jail if you're caught, don't you?" "Wow, that's harsh," Tomeu murmured.
Will you three quit following me around?
Kai, in his usual disguise, finally snapped.
I'm doing business here, and you guys are getting in my way.
Sakura, Syaoran, and Tomeu glanced at each other and shrugged their shoulders. "Don't worry about us and continue on with your business. We won't get in your way." Sakura waved off. "Hey, isn't that your father, Tomeu-chan? Should we go greet him?" He seems busy. Next time," Tomeu said, gazing at her father proudly. He looked well. Looking sharp in his blue uniform, Chief Inspector Daidoji was calling out commands to the officers. This was the father who had abandoned the prosperous Daidoji enterprise and only daughter to her mother in order to pursue his own dreams. Crossing his arms, Kai demanded slyly,
Is it okay to be helping me? You are the daughter of the man set on putting me behind bars, Tomo-chan.
"It's okay," Tomeu replied. "As long as there's action, I don't care which side I am on."
Unfaithful daughter, Kai muttered.
His parrot, looking like a crow since it was black today, shook his head disdainfully. Kai continued,
Your father would cry if he knew you were fraternizing with a nemesis.
Hey, Kai, about sealing the wave, Sakura began.
Later, I'm busy, okay?
Kai said, typing things into his palm-sized pocket computer and mapping out the positions of the guards onto a digital blueprint of the building. Well, it's for your own benefit, Sakura trailed off. How are you going to be cautious tonight when you can't hear anything? You can't exactly read lips to hear footsteps or alarms, can you? Plus, you have to check out who the fake Kaido magician is.
While I'm at it, I'm going to steal that thief of the knife piece before the fake Kaido magician does, Kai replied, heaving a sigh. And don't you three try to interfere or anything tonight. I can't take the risk of anybody slowing me down like you guys are doing right now. These idiotic cops have got a little less idiotic these days and have come up with all sorts of fancy gadgets to capture me.
Syaoran, who had been silent for a while, stated abruptly,
Let's go eat lunch now.
Yeah, and you won't be able to have any energy tonight without food, Kaido-kun, Sakura said. Kaido-kun? He disappeared, Tomeo odd. Right under our noses.
He must have been really fed up with us,
Syaoran said. All they could do now was wait until evening.
It's rare for you to call us out,
Yue said, standing at Iroh's doorway with Kiroberos behind him. It was evening, and Iroh's profile was lit by the moonbeam seeping in through the wide windows.
Especially since you pointed out so clearly that you were no longer our master.
Looking up from his armchair, Iroh said,
Thank you for coming, Yue. Kiroberos. You don't look like your normal self at all,
Kiroberos commented. Something's been on Iroh-kun's mind for weeks, Ruby Moon replied, flicking away her fuchsia hair and leaning against Iroh's armchair. What to do, what to say to prevent his little trustee from being too hurt.
You mean Miho still hasn't figured out that the force parading around as Tanaka Mackay might not be her real brother? Yue asked bluntly. And Claride's reincarnation is too kind to tell her that?
What a laugh, Spindle-san commented. And he's seeking condolences for his 4 creations.
What is Iroh hesitating for?
Kiroberos asked, peering with his golden brown eyes at Iroh's brooding, pallid face. I'm home, Miho called out, stomping up the stairs to Iroh's sitting room. Wow, everyone's gathered here? You're home late, Miho-chan, Ruby Moon said. Oh, Nichan and I were walking in the park, Miho stated.
It's not safe to wander around at this hour,
Iroh said quietly. Ruby Moon snickered at Iroh's grandfatherly words, and Kiroberos shot her a warning look. Oh, for heaven's sake, I'm 14 now, and also I was with my older brother, Miho retorted. When I'm with him, I'm perfectly safe.
Are you sure?
Iroh questioned. Yeah, who can be safer than my older brother? Miho asked. You're so overprotected, Iroh. It's stifling at times. I'm not a baby. I can look after myself.
But you are under my protection for now, Iroh replied forcefully. Therefore, it's my responsibility to make sure you come to no harm for the sake of your mother and your cousin Kaho.
Only because I'm your responsibility, isn't it, Iroh? Cloud never did anything without reason. I know. Oni-chan never saw me as a duty. I'd rather be under his protection than under yours. When I'm with you, I feel like I can never be old enough or independent enough to do anything, Miho exclaimed.
What? The brother who abandoned you for almost 5 years without any valid reason given? Iroh asked with a trace of temper, but a cruelly factual tone.
He said he was looking for me for years, Miho replied, faltering.
The brother who won't go see his own mother, the brother who suddenly appeared out of nowhere as if nothing at all happened, even after abandoning his ill mother and fatherless, helpless little sister.
We did go see Mother a couple days ago, Miho retorted.
And
Iro waited purposefully. Well, we'll go back again in a few days and try again. That's besides the point. Oni-chan came back, and that's what's important, Miho said, clear gray eyes thwarted. The calm, gentle Iro never spoke to her in this manner. He was always smiling and kind to her, and never spoke to her with his harsh cynicism and indifference. Yes, this might have been the expression of the greatest sorcerer in the world, Clow Reed might have worn in foregone years. What do you know about having a family anyway? Smiling sadly, Iro said,
I don't. I am without a family in this life, and I was as good as an orphan in my other lifetime.
So don't interfere with my life then, Miho said. Thank you for looking after me until now, but now I have my mother and my brother. I won't have to be under your protection, intruding upon your privacy anymore. Oni-chan will be there for me now.
And are you so sure that he is truly your brother? Iro asked.
What are you talking about? Miho asked. Of course he is. Do you think I wouldn't know the difference?
Or maybe you simply accept him because he fits all your fantasies, and you are content with that, though in your heart you sense that everything is going too smoothly to be true.
I don't understand you. Oni-chan is Oni-chan, Miho retorted, stepping backwards. You're mean, Iro. Plain cruel and mean. You don't want me happy at all, do you? Have you ever truly loved before? You're not different from the sadistic crooked Clow Reed. You have no heart. I know that for sure.
Is that so?
Iro said, his bitter smile lost in the shadow of the unlit room. I don't want to stay here with you anymore, Miho exclaimed, bolting down the hallway and out of the house. I'm sick and tired of being trapped by you. The door slammed shut.
There's no doubt that you are Clow Reed's reincarnation after all, Kirabarris commented, though I admit even Clow Reed didn't have a heinous nature. Weren't you a little harsh to Miho? It was inevitable, Iro replied, suddenly sounding very tired. She must hear harsh facts and accept them. You could have been more gentle about it, Yue said quietly. You are not truly cruel or a malicious person. Either way, I've done what I had to do, Iro said. Now, it's up to you four to chase after her and keep an eye on her until Sakura gets everything under control. Don't interfere with anything. Just make sure that Miho is unharmed. Then everything will fall into place. So that's why you summoned Yue and me, Kirabarris said, because you thought 4 pairs of eyes were better than 2. Worrywart. If you admitted that to Miho that you love her like a younger sister also, and you're worried for her, how much easier things could be.
Frowning, Iro said,
Just go now. Don't you know that things might not fall right into place as you expect to, and the Miho might really be in danger?
Yue asked Iro, being last to leave.
You should remember that while she might be hurt physically by the dark force, you have hurt her mentally and emotionally, like many before her. The latter leaves behind a longer, lasting scar.
Then Yue swooped out his magnificent white wings without waiting for Iro's reply. Leaning back against the grand armchair, Iro took off his glasses and closed his eyes. What is it, Kira-chan? Sakura asked when Kira-chan in his small form came flying at her full speed. She was already dressed in Tomeo's new battle costume. This time a rich, dark navy blue dress with a matching cloak the hems decorated with white beads, creating the effect of faint stars scattered across the fabric. Her hair was pulled into pigtails with matching navy blue ties.
Oh, Miho-chan ran away from home. Iro aggravated her, and now she might be in danger.
Kiro-chan panted as Tomeo tied a navy blue cloak around his neck.
What kind of danger?
Sakura demanded.
I don't know. Iro was being very vague as usual, but I think he was hinting that Tanaka Mickey might take his real form tonight. Or else, Iro wouldn't have sent us all out all of a sudden, would he? Kiro-chan said. Yue's keeping an eye on Miho with Spinel Sun and Ruby Moon.
And now tell me, why am I wearing this ridiculous replica of Kaido Magician's outfit?
Syaoran demanded, stepping out of the costume van and spinning around once. The outfit had slightly been modified by Tomeo from his circus carnival magician outfit. Dressed from head to toe in black, complete with a cloak and leather gloves, Syaoran could be easily mistaken for the Kaido magician from a distance.
It's all a part of our plan, remember? Sakura exclaimed for the third time, hands on hips. Distract the police while Kai escapes, and I take on the fake Kaido magician. Ugh, wait, that's not the problem right now, Kiro-chan interrupted. Miho-chan's in danger, and she might be headed towards a trap. Wait then, there's a possibility the Dark Force is going to steal the Thief of the Night piece. It's the same force that's posing as her brother then, isn't it? Sakura asked.
Well then, they won't be able to be in two places at once, so what's the problem?
Syaoran asked, kicking at his lawn cloak in annoyance. Frowning, Sakura said, Strange though. Why is Miho-chan being targeted? And is she being targeted?
That's not important right now, Syaoran said. If Yue's keeping an eye on Miho, she must be safe. Our immediate worry lies in capturing the wave and the fake Kaido magician. And if he's Miho's brother also, we've caught two birds with one stone.
Whew, that girl is quite fast, Ruby Moon commented, landing on the top of a tree. Her black butterfly wings spread out. Ugh, it'll always sends us out on useless errands. Yue, too bad your old master can still boss you around so easily. Then again, you must be bored because your little mistress doesn't need you often anyway. In his small form, to attract less attention, Spinel's son, just keep an eye on things. She's heading to Kenoshi Hospital. Panting, Miho found herself in the Kenoshi Hospital. She hadn't realized how far she had run, though she had meant to run straight to her brother. Instead, she had come to her mother. Her mother had fallen ill again recently, so no visitors had been allowed, not even her own daughter and son. Girl, visiting hours are over, the night nurse shift said, coming from the hospital room that Miho's mother resided in. Please come back tomorrow. I have to see my mother, Miho said. No, Mizuki-san is very ill. She cannot be overexcited by a visitor, the nurse said, gently pushing Miho away from the door. Mother, Miho shouted. Please let me see you. Hush, you're disturbing all the patients, the nurse scolded. I just wanted to ask Aka-san just one question, Miho whispered, sinking to her knees. She recalled a week ago when she went to meet her mother with McKay. Her mother had looked much paler and weaker than her first visit, and Miho had been exceedingly disappointed in her mother's reaction upon seeing McKay. She had expected her mother to be overjoyed. Instead... Mother, it's Miho. I have a surprise, Miho said eagerly, taking McKay's hand from behind the doorway and bringing him into the room. Look, Oni-chan's come back. A little hesitantly, McKay stepped into the room and bowed his head. Then he looked up and said, Aka-san, I have come back. For a second, Mizuki Miyara coolly gazed at him. Then she crossed her arms, looking away. I don't recall having such a son. Mother! Miho exclaimed in shock. Makeni-chan's finally returned. Please take him and leave the room, Miho. Mother has a headache. Her mother replied, leaning back on her pillow, her dark shadows under her eyes. Turning to her brother, Miho didn't know what to say, her mouth opening and then closing. Patting her shoulder, Makei smiled crookedly. It's okay, Miho. It's only expected that Mother's mad at me for leaving without a word. Let's give her more time and everything will turn out fine. It's all my fault for showing up so suddenly. A trickle of tear fell down Miho's cheek. Why weren't things working out the way she wanted them to? She had to find her brother. She knew Iro was wrong about him. On her feet again, she rushed out of the hospital. Look, she's coming out of the hospital, Spindle-san said. I wonder why we're just supposed to keep an eye on her without doing anything. Ruby Moon yawned. This is so boring. There's that Tanaka Makei, Spindle-san said, pointing out a figure walking towards Miho. Yue just watched silently. Miho, what are you doing here at this hour? Makei exclaimed. Oni-chan! Miho stared up, relieved, and sniffed. Why, did Hirasawa-san make you cry? Makei demanded, outraged. Here now, Miho, don't cry. Oni-chan is here. Sniffling into her brother's shirt, Miho nodded. Yes, this was her brother. Who else could he be? Everyone around her was just mistaken. Steel gray eyes glimmering, Makei took Miho's hands and said, You can stay with me. I'll protect you, Miho. Tread carefully, Syaoran whispered as Tomeo, Sakura, and he crept across the bushes encircling the museum. Strange, it's awfully quiet in here, Sakura said. Are the guards hiding? It's 5 to 10 and there's no sign of reporters and the police. Look! Tomeo pointed. There were guards sprawled across the museum lawn, unconscious. Looking through his binoculars to inside the building, Syaoran said, Yes, I can see there are guards sleeping, leaning against the windows. So this place is completely unprotected right now? Sakura asked. Whistling, Syaoran commented, The Kaido magician really knows his stuff. Then he scowled, tugging at his cloak. There's no point in getting dressed up like this, right? But it looks nice, Tomeo stated, videotaping Syaoran from head to toe. And a nice diversion from your usual Chinese battle outfit. Shh! Look! Someone's laying it on the roof! Kyo-chan exclaimed. Oh, I can't tell if it's Kaido magician or the replica, Sakura said, creeping towards the building. Let's get closer. A figure dressed completely in black stepped out from the shadow as another figure, also dressed in black, stepped into the room containing the targeted piece. A few minutes late, aren't you? Said Kaido magician with a crooked grin to the imposter. Would have expected you to be more punctual. Kai's duplicate, dressed in the traditional elegance of a magician, returned the grin, twirling a top hat around its finger. It headed towards the wall where the painting of the Kaido magician was hung. There was no evident protection around it. Oh, stupid, there's a laser protective system, Kai began, then frowned. The imposter walked straight through the protective system without any harm. Kai held his hand forward cautiously. A neon red thread flashed across the top of his wrist, cutting through his leather glove. Ah, shoot! Kai muttered. Yes, the Kaido magician replica was not a human, but a dark force. An alarm began ringing across the building, but Kai was unaware of this since the wave prevented all sonar waves from reaching his ears. Without paying any heed to the alarm, the magician removed the painting canvas from its frame and rolled it up carefully. Then Kai caught a glimpse of a silvery locket hanging from a chain around the magician's neck. When the magician noticed that Kai had caught sight of the locket, it shot an assertive, challenging look. Struggling to keep his voice from faltering, Kai drawled, "So it was you who captured Mei Lin, set those pickpockets on me, ordered them to steal that item from me, not to mention dirtying my name. Well, it's time to pay due debt." The magician merely smiled idly as it slipped the rolled canvas into a cylindrical protective case. Within a blink of an eye, Kai sent out a brilliant shower of light with the top hat conjured up from the air and snatched away the rolled up canvas. He was really angry this time.
"What's Kaido-kun planning to do?" Sakura whispered to Syaoran and to Meo. They had been able to sneak into the building easily because of the lax security. Kiro-chan hovered above their heads to keep guard. All they could see were flashes of blinding light and occasional clanging and popping noises from across the room. The two Kaido magicians were moving so fast that they were merely dark blurs. It was impossible to distinguish who was who. From the corridors, they heard the chaotic echoing of footsteps and shouts. "The alarm went off!" "What are the guards doing? What? Kaido magician has entered the exhibition room containing Shin's masterpiece. Get up! This is not the time to be sleeping. Hurry! Gather the reinforcements!" Oh no! The police and the guards have awakened!" Sakura exclaimed. "We have to warn Kai-kun. He won't be able to hear them. He probably hasn't heard the alarm yet either." Chief Inspector Daidoji's voice boomed from outside the door. "In here! Kaido magician must be in here. Hurry, officers! Take your positions. At the count of 3, enter." "Shoot!" Syaoran muttered as Sakura waved her hand to attract Kai's attention. Frustrated, she rushed forward to warn Kai, despite his warning her to stay out of his business. He was too intent in fighting to notice them anyway. In return, she bumped into some sort of invisible barrier and rebounded backwards. Helping Sakura, who looked stunned to her feet, Syaoran asked, "What's the matter?" Stretching out his hands forward, he felt some sort of solid wall in front of them, though it could not be seen. An invisible barrier? From outside, they heard the call of 1, 2. "Sakura-chan, they're going to enter!" Tomeo exclaimed, rushing to the bolted door, about to burst open at any moment. "I'll take care of the door," Sakura asserted, whipping out her staff key. "Key that hides the power of the stars, show your true self to me. I, Sakura, command you under contract. Release!" Quickly, she flipped out a Sakura card and ordered, "Lock! Guard the door and keep it from opening." Immediately, the door was firmly sealed and the police called out, 3! But they were met by a surprisingly resilient door, and they all collapsed backwards by the force of the lock card. No matter how they pounded on the door, it wouldn't open. "Phew, safe at the moment," Sakura said, wiping sweat off her brows. Her last encounter with the persistent Tokyo police force in the summer was enough to last for a long time yet. Meanwhile, Syaoran had been observing the invisible barrier.
"I got it," he finally said. "This barrier is another byproduct of the wave."
He whipped out his Lazen board and chanted a few words. The Lazen board let out a powerful ray of light onto the barrier. In result, the barrier could now be seen as some sort of translucent, interwoven net of neon wires fluctuating up and down, left and right, diagonally and erratically.
"See how the barrier is not a distinctive wall, but consists of some sort of substance constantly in wave motion, networked from one end of the wall to the other, therefore repelling us and keeping us from getting through? As a result of a high-frequency wave movement."
There came another pounding on the door. Sakura winced. Even with the protection of the lock, the wooden door was bound to burst with the force of at least 24 full-grown men. Oh dear," Tomeo murmured. She didn't like the thought of her father catching her in such a place. "We have to warn Kai-kun," Sakura said, banging on the barrier with her hands, not quite understanding Syaoran's explanation of how it worked. Science had never been her strong subject. However, clearly understanding that it was the wave at work again, it was surprisingly solid considering it looked transparent. Kai! Listen to me! The police will enter any moment now. You have to escape!
He can't hear you because of the wave, Shadow muttered.
Then he snapped his finger.
I know how to capture the wave.
What? Sakura asked. She cast a worried glance at the door, the hinges creaking. A few minutes more at the most, and the door would open before the power of the lock would give in.
The wave, the barrier it's creating, it can only exist because of a medium. Such waves cannot exist without a medium, a substance to travel through. It cannot exist in a vacuumed area, Syaoran said, rapidly processing the idea in his head.
So, if we can somehow vacuum this room, the wave will not be able to exist, and I'll be able to seal it?
Sakura repeated, trying to grasp what Syaoran was saying.
How can I get a vacuum large enough to empty this room? And I don't have a vacuum card either.
Kira-chan and Tomeo snickered together at the thought of the vacuum card.
It doesn't literally have to be a vacuum, you know. Something that'll have the same effect, a substitute of some sort. It doesn't matter,
Syaoran said, eyeing the door nervously.
Hey, you think of something. I'll go out and masquerade as Kaido Magician to draw the police away from this room. They're going to burst into this room any second now.
Huh? No, don't go out there. It's dangerous.
Sakura protested. She clearly remembered the long hours of anguish on the train as she had awaited for Syaoran to return after dislocating the microchip on Kai's locket.
They're armed and numerous.
Don't worry. I've a good size of them over the last summer,
Syaoran reassured wholeheartedly.
And truthfully, none of them are half as scary as my training masters back in Hong Kong. Well, I'm going now.
In a split second, he disappeared from the room.
Wow, he just disappeared. Did he even open the door?
Tomeo odd.
Oh, Syaoran-kun's becoming a pro with this. Maybe he and Kaido-kun can become partners.
I doubt Syaoran would consent to that, Sakura chuckled. From outside, they heard footsteps moving away from the door and voices shouting, "Wait! The Kaido Magician has been spotted in the East Wing! Everyone! Head over towards the East Wing!" The chamber of the police officers became more distant. Surveying the barrier, Sakura could now fully concentrate on how to eliminate the wave. She racked her brains to recall anything she learned about how waves were transmitted back in science class. Let's see. We faced waves traveling through 3 different types of medium. First, back at Kusako Beach, it used water. Over the past few weeks, the seismic waves traveled through the ground to create earthquakes. And for the past couple days, it manipulated sound waves, which traveled through air. Let's see. There's no sound out there in space because the space is like a whole large vacuumed space. Sound waves cannot travel without a medium. I know! The silent card! Tomeo hid a smile behind her camcorder. Sakura had such a cute habit of thinking aloud. The silent card can't stand any sort of disturbance at all. So in a way, it forms a sort of vacuum in the room. Remember back at the museum long ago when we were trying to capture it, right? We couldn't get near it because the silent disliked any sort of noise. We couldn't even sneeze. So I had to seal it with a shadow card because I couldn't approach it myself. I think this might be what Syaoran had in mind. A substitute for a vacuum. Twirling her pink staff around her fingers twice, she flung up the silent card and commanded, "Silent! Vacuum this room with silence!" Immediately, a serene-faced, rather stately force swept out and pressed its finger to its lips. Shh. Though it was a card rarely called out, because it didn't like to be disturbed from its peace, it did its duty faithfully. Sakura, Tomeo, and Kiro-chan felt disturbingly empty as the room turned completely silent and was, in a sense, vacuumed of all matter. Sakura almost felt like she did when the wave had stopped transmitting sound waves to her ears. The barrier flickered and they could see the frequency of the interwoven waves decreasing and gradually becoming slightly fluttering lines, then becoming wispy and hard to distinguish. Kiro-chan was now able to fly right through it. A whimper sounded, and all the vanishing waves became a condensed ball, which materialized into a short, elfish creature which held in its hand a narrow blue staff with a long ribbon attached to it, resembling a gymnast's ribbon with which it created varying wavelengths.
Huh. So that's the little thing that caused all those problems for us over the past several months, Kiro-chan scoffed. Sakura-chan, seal it now.
Okay. Sakura held out her staff over the cowering dark force. Spirit of dark forces, I, Sakura, command you. Return to new shape a contract. Sakura, card! The wave evaporated and a new card floated down into Sakura's hand. She smiled. The wave, another troublesome card conquered and mastered. One step closer to reaching the secret whispers of her ancestors, shrouded in mystery and convoluted clues. They had no chance to gloat because now they were facing the magician, who looked up at surprise to see the wave had been sealed. For the first time, Kai turned in their direction, annoyed to see Sakura and Tomeo and Kiro-chan all dressed in matching navy blue outfits. For fun, Tomeo had made herself a corresponding outfit to Sakura's, since she now had more time at hand now that the Star-Crossed production was over. He almost smiled at the funny combination they made, before frowning.
You guys, what are you doing here?
Kai demanded, leaping back onto the glass case of a priceless vase away from the magician's reach.
I told you not to butt into my business.
For the first time, he realized that the alarm bell was ringing loudly. He blinked, fingering his ears. He had an earache. His ears were sensitive to the pressure from sound after not being able to hear for a couple days.
Am I hallucinating or am I able to hear again?
Sakura-chan just sealed the wave, Tomeo stated proudly. Wearing my outfit!
Well then, good job. I'm a little relieved I can hear again. I miss listening to rock music, Kai said. So bye-bye now. Leave the rest to me.
Jumping down from the vase exhibition with sharp daggers placed between each finger, Kai flung them out and neatly pinned the magician by its cloak to the wall within a blink of an eye.
The magician. Master of illusions, trickery, and deception. Can't win against me, the master of all masters.
Kaido-kun? Sakura said, tapping Kai's shoulder.
What, you're still here?
Kai asked, hands on hips.
Shoo.
I'm sorry, but I kind of have to seal it, so... Sakura trailed off, rather frightened by Kai, who seemed especially fierce and ruthless that night. Jabbing his paw onto Kai's temple, Kiro-chan interrupted.
Her point is, brat number 2, that she's the only one who can seal the dark forest despite your big words. And you're of no more use, so get out of the way.
Kiro-chan was always quick in defending his mistress. Scowling, Kai said,
Fine. Just 1 second.
He stepped up closely to the magician, removing its top hat, and peered into its face. It was wearing a mask which covered the upper portion of its face.
As if the Dark Ones thought that they could conquer me with a useless dummy.
Quietly, so that Kai could only hear, the magician murmured,
If you seal me, you seal your pretty chain with me.
It let Kai get a glimpse of his locket, which had been clasped into a gloved hand. Kai's eyes widened. The magician struggled a little, shifting the daggers holding it down in its place. Just a little more time, and it would be free.
Hey, what are you waiting for? Get out of the way, Kiro-chan said. It'll escape any minute.
Staring hard at the locket clasped in the magician's hand, Kai leaped out of the way with carefree ease.
Seal it away, Sakura-chan. Once it becomes a card, there'll be no means of retrieving it. The locket that I once thought my life depended on.
Okay. Spirit of dark forces, I, Sakura, command you. Return to new shape a contract. Sakura, card! The magician card floated down towards Kai, who who observed it carefully. On its face was a tall, stately magician cloaked in black and uncannily similar to Kaido Magician. He handed the card over to Sakura.
I have no use for Sakura cards,
he stated as he tucked the rolled-up Thief of the Night piece under his cloak. You're not really planning to steal that, are you? Sakura asked, horrified, but more horrified at what she thought Maylin's reaction would be like.
Well, I don't want to be known as the thief who breaks his words, do I? Kai stated. Don't worry, after all the fuss is over, I'll by and return it personally to Shin-san.
Before any more words of reproach could be said, there came Chief Inspector Daidoji's booming shout. Kaido Magician's on the rooftop!
What? There's another person masquerading around as me?
Kai cracked his knuckles.
Oh, wait till I get my hands on the bastard. I won't go easily this time.
No, Sakura quickly explained. It's Syaoran. He's out there as a decoy to help you escape. Syaoran! Sakura had completely forgotten about him. Syaoran, can you hear me?
Sakura? Came Syaoran's voice in her mind, sounding rather distant, but still distinct. Did things work out?
Yeah, I captured the wave by using the silent.
Good thinking. I haven't even thought about the silent, was Syaoran's response.
Anyway, everything's under control here. Are you safe? Should we go help you? Sakura asked.
Don't bother. I have everything under control too. In a few minutes, I'm going to stage Kaido Magician's disappearance. And you guys use that as a chance to escape. Let's meet up at King Penguin Park, okay?
Okay. Sakura consented hesitantly. Be quick, okay?
Don't worry, Syaoran reassured. This is kind of fun, watching these foolish police officers make a mess. Can't understand what amusement Kaido Magician must have at times, though my family would be distraught at the idea that I'm breaking every single code they taught to me, especially the one that states the chosen one must be discreet and humble, should always try to stay out of sight. Sheesh, what is all she smiling about? With her eyes all closed?
Kai muttered to Tomeo, indicating Sakura.
Freaky.
Oh, they seem to have learned how to do telepathy,
Tomeo replied, head drooped. One couldn't record telepathy. Opening her eyes, Sakura said, Okay, Syaoran has everything under control. We have to escape.
What are you talking about? Kai demanded. Why is he taking all the glory of the hour? I should be out there parading as the invincible phantom thief of the night, not retreating with 2 girls and a stuffed animal.
Just shut up and follow, Kiro-chan said as Sakura cast the invisible upon all 4 of them to escape the building without being seen. At King Penguin Park, they met Syaoran, chestnut brown hair tousled and cloak crooked, but looking rather proud and excited for a change.
What took you guys so long? He asked. I was starting to get worried.
Pointing to Kai, Sakura said, He was creating a fuss about not being able to shine in the spotlight and such nonsense, and we had to drag him all the way here. Kai grumbled.
I retire. You can be the new Kaido Magician. I'm not appreciated here anymore. No, thank you, Syaoran said a little too sweetly. It's a rather boring and tedious occupation. Shrugging, Kai replied, Well, better than being the lapdog of a family, going when commanded, returning at a single beckoning. On a side note, he muttered, causing people unnecessary headache. Syaoran frowned. You. How did Kai know about the Lee clan decision? Surely Mei Lin. Did Mei Lin tell that bastard and not me?
At that moment, Sakura exclaimed, Oh, what about Miho-chan? Could the magician have been the force posing as Miho's brother, or... As if on cue, Yue swept down and landed beside Sakura. So what happened? Kiro-chan demanded, realizing he had completely forgot about Miho. Is Miho safe?
Nothing happened, Yue replied briskly. Miho met up with her brother. They talked for a while, and Miho returned home a couple minutes ago. Ruby Moon and Spittle-sun accompanied her. Seems like her brother scolded her for running away from home and made her go back and apologize to Iro.
What? Sakura and Kiro-chan exclaimed. That's it? One thing for sure was that Tanaka McKay and the magician couldn't have been the same personage, because during the time they were challenging the magician, Miho had been with her brother. Well, seems that Iro is being overly cautious, Kiro-chan commented, only to be interrupted by another fight that had been sparked up between Sakura and Syaoran in the blink of an eye.
When did they start fighting?
Kai whispered to Tomeo, rapidly videotaping.
Oh, those two can brew up a fight out of nothing,
Tomeo replied, rather startled that Syaoran and Sakura were arguing. They had been getting along beautifully for the past few weeks.
And they take the longest time to make up because each are stubborn to apologize.
Well, what was it that you're so worried about? Sakura demanded, hands on hips. She was unable to contain herself any longer. You seem so distracted these days. And that time you took off to the Lee estate for the couple of days, you said it was for training, but I bet that's a lie. You're keeping something to yourself, aren't you?
I told you it's nothing,
Syaoran snapped. I could hear it in your mind. You're worried about something for the past week, though you refuse to tell me what, Sakura replied. Do I mean only that much to you as a friend? You still won't tell me the things that truly matter to you when I've always trusted you in a matter of which I could confide to you about everything that's on my mind.
It's not about trusting or mistrusting,
Syaoran said, aggravated and surprised that Sakura could have intruded upon his innermost mind. He thought he was hiding his worries so well.
It's something you won't understand anyway. There's no point in trying to tell you.
Oh, so now you do admit that there is something on your mind, Sakura retorted. And you're hinting that I won't be able to help anyway, so you won't even bother to confide to me about your problems. Don't you remember this summer? You're the one who asked me to trust you, so I did. Now you're saying trust doesn't matter?
That's not the point,
Syaoran said, almost shouting now. Well, you told me you had something to tell me next Sunday, which happens to be today, Sakura said. What is it? Do you care to enlighten me? Syaoran stopped mid-track, realizing that Tomeo, Kai, Kiro-chan, and even Yue were listening intently.
Never mind, he said. Just forget it. You're impossible to talk to when you're like this. The one who doesn't trust is you. You still don't trust me. That's why you're always reproaching me.
It's true. I've just realized it now that you've said it, Sakura said equally coolly. I don't trust you as far as tomorrow, even after all we've been through. I yet believe it's capable of you to walk away without a second thought. Leave all this behind if it's for your dignity's sake. Just like Ryuren-san. Those words speared through Syaoran's heart more cruelly than a razor. There came a sulky knock on the door to Iro's study. The grandfather clock in the hallway read 2 o'clock in the morning. Miho stepped into the room, pouting, and said flatly, I'm back. Iro looked up, startled. He hadn't expected to see Miho back that night. Ni-chan made me come back and apologize. He said I behaved inappropriately and that I should be more grateful for all that you've done for me, Miho said sullenly.
Oh?
Iro was speechless. Anyway, I'm sorry for acting inappropriately and rudely. I've been a disgrace to my family. There, I've said it. Scowling, Miho said, I'm only doing this because Oni-chan told me that I have to stay here a little longer until Aka-san regains her health. When she gets better, we will be able to live together again, and I can move out. Well, I'm going to my room then. Not having said a single word, Iro stared at the doorway. Ruby Moon and Spinel Sun entered, collapsing onto the couch. Ruby Moon, having transformed back into Nakaru, stated, Oh, all that fuss for nothing. I say you're losing your old touch, Spinel Sun said. There was nothing abnormal about Tanaka McKay's brother. Behavior. If he planned to harm Miho, today would have been the perfect day, with Sakura and Co. all occupied with the other dark forces. Besides, since Tanaka Makei smells like a human, he must be a human and not another dark force, Nakaru continued. And he's everything I would expect from a brother. I mean, if he was a dark force for at least a fake, why would he have sent Miho back to apologize to you? Seems to me you've been on the wrong trail. He's definitely an innocent person. Without bothering to reply to those two, Iro ruminated quietly. Everything they said was true. It had completely been unexpected to him that Tanaka Makei's reaction upon Miho's running away from home would be to send her back promptly to apologize. Maybe he had been overly precautious and suspicious. Could it be? Could it possibly be that this was the real Tanaka Makei? The company returned to Syaoran's apartment, which was nearest to King Penguin Park. Meilin greeted them from the couch where she had aimlessly been turning the channels with her remote control, keen on any update about the Kaido magician. "Oh, you guys are back. How did things go? Did Kai steal again? Ooh, I wanted to go if it weren't for this leg." Then she felt the icy, hostile breeze sweep in as Sakura and Syaoran entered. "Ooh, what is this uncomfortable atmosphere?" Meilin demanded.
Those two fought again. Heaven knows why. Kai said, yawning. "Well, I'm going to bed now."
He headed off next door to his own apartment. "You two fought again?" Meilin asked, astounded. She glared at Syaoran accusingly.
"What? It wasn't me,"
Syaoran defended.
"She," pointing at Sakura, "got mad by herself for no reason."
Then he paused, looking pensive.
"Well, maybe for a reason."
"You two, this is not the time for you two to be arguing when time is precious. Especially not you," Syaoran went. Meilin trailed off, discontinuing her sentence before she said too much.
"When?"
Syaoran prodded. "Nothing," Meilin stammered. Then she frowned. "You too, Sakura. You should appreciate Syaoran more, especially when you know that." Again she paused. "I've told you before how hard it is."
"Meilin," Syaoran interrupted abruptly. "We need to talk."
His grave amber eyes met hers, and in an instant, Meilin got the sense that Syaoran already knew. Meilin was at a loss of words. Panicking, she hobbled over to the table and retrieved a thick Chinese book and flipped through the pages. Her heart sank. The letter from Li Yelin was gone. Turning to Sakura and Tomeo, Syaoran said pronouncedly,
"It's past 2 a.m. You guys better be getting home. Especially you, Sakura."
At this, Sakura and Tomeo and even Kiro-chan scurried out the door with rapid goodbyes and see you tomorrow. Now, Meilin was left alone to face the most solemn Syaoran she had ever seen in her life, and she felt intimidated by him. Before he could say anything, Meilin blurted out, I'm sorry for not telling you before. I've got something really important to tell you, too, about the Lee Clan decision." Syaoran finished off.
"Yeah, I already know. I read Mother's letter. I found it in that book by mistake."
"Oh." Meilin set the book down and hung her head. I'm really sorry. I meant to tell you before, through my own lips, but I couldn't." Then she stared up at Syaoran imploringly. "How could I, when you're finally settling down here? The news would have thrown you in turmoil, for until now, you've lived for your family."
"You mean you thought I couldn't handle the news that I might be removed as the Lee Clan chosen one? Is that it? I'm sure your intentions are good. You thought you could shelter me, or however your mind worked. It didn't occur to you that I, too, have a right to know, that I'm not stupid, that I know what I'm doing?"
"No, Syaoran, it's not that." Malin stammered, her throat choking up. Yet she had no words to say. This was what Kai had been trying to tell her all along, but she had not heeded his words, and now it turned into this.
Even Kai knew, Syaoran said sorrowfully. You told Kai about it before you even thought about telling me. When it's concerning me personally,
He forced me to tell him, Malin said, knowing that it sounded like a petty excuse.
I thought it was strange. When you turned up in Japan a couple weeks ago, you pretended you were here for fun, but in fact you were sent by my mother to convey the news. But you were never planning on telling me in the first place, weren't you?
No, Malin replied miserably. I thought that upon hearing the news you would immediately return to the clan as ordered, that you'd never be able to come back, so I thought it was best not to burden you with such news and go back myself and tell the clan that you wouldn't return.
And they say ignorance is bliss,
Syaoran murmured. Then he said softly,
So you immediately just assumed that I'm a lapdog, ready to return home at a single beckoning? It's all you thought I was capable of.
I'm sorry, Syaoran. I'm so sorry. I should have told you as soon as I came. It's all my fault. Malin sobbed, crouching down.
No, Malin, I'm not mad at you. It's not your fault. You're just a messenger, that's all. I'm just a little disappointed in my cousin for claiming to be the one who knows me best, yet only being able to see me as an incompetent underling of the Lee clan. That's all.
Syaoran didn't know that mild, calm tone conveying his disappointment hurt Malin more than words of anger and reproach. So, I guess you'll return, at least briefly, to clear things up at the clan? Malin asked timidly, not looking up at her cousin in fear that she might burst into hysterical tears.
What do you take me for? Syaoran asked. I'm going nowhere. You were mentally struggling for no reason. Well, I'm going to bed now. I have school tomorrow.
He entered his room and shut the door. A cold wind blew over Malin's heart, as if the blissful childhood friendship between the two cousins had shut its door in her face forever. Kai was surprised when a pounding on his door sounded well past 3 a.m. Groggy from being awoken from a light sleep, he opened the door, even more surprised to find Malin with red-rimmed eyes asking quietly, "Can I stay with you for a couple days?" He didn't ask any questions, was sensitive enough not to, and carried her duffel bag into his room while Malin hopped in on her crutches.
I'm sorry, the house is a mess. You can use my room. I'll sleep on the living room couch,
Kai said, hurriedly picking laundry, empty soda cans, and video games off the ground. No, I'm sorry for intruding in the middle of the night like this, said a much subdued Malin. I kind of fought with Syaoran. More like he's really mad at me right now.
He kicked you out of the house,
Kai demanded, indignant. No, nothing like that, came the rushed response. I just felt too ashamed to show him my face. Malin sniffled. Kai's parrot flew out and landed on her shoulder, rubbing its head against her cheek, cooing in condolence.
Care to talk about it?
Kai asked. Malin shook her head. It's okay. You must be tired. I probably waked you up.
I'm fine. I'm a night owl anyway,
Kai reassured.
Well then, tell me if you need anything, all right? I'm ready to listen anytime.
He led her to his room.
Should I leave a nightstand on?
Malin nodded. I'm sorry for bothering you, she said again as Kai helped her settle in, her injured leg aching again. She sat down on the bed.
I told you, don't worry about it,
Kai scolded lightly, sitting next to her.
You lent me a shoulder once. Isn't it my turn?
At this, Malin's eyes brimmed with tears again as she leaned her forehead against Kai's broad shoulder. He found the letter, and now he knows everything, she said. You were right, Kai. I should have told him from the beginning. He does have a right to know, while I have no right to interfere with that right. Patting her back awkwardly, Kai reassured.
There now. What's the trouble? He knows now, though he found out the hard way. So does he plan on returning?
No, I was so sure that the title The Chosen One was most important to him, but he stared at me with those hard eyes as if I was stupid to think so. He stated so assuredly that he had no intention of returning to Hong Kong. Malin gulped. But what bothers me is that I think deep inside the darkest corners of my heart, I was hoping that he would return to Hong Kong to fulfill his duty as the chosen one and choose his family honor over love. I still remember the anguish I felt when I saw Syaoran go through that nightmare training to become the chosen one, separating him from me, taking him farther and farther away. Wicked me was hoping that Sakura too would have to feel that anguish when Syaoran chooses to return to Hong Kong for the sake of the clan. That way he would be unattainable for anyone. He would belong to the family, not to another girl. And I felt guilty for thinking such horrible thoughts. But I said to myself I gave up on him so long ago. With gentle fingers, deft at card tricks, and quick to confront a crying girl, Kai carefully wiped away Malin's tears, listening intently. Malin continued, her voice trembling. I think the reason why I didn't tell Syaoran about the Lee Clan decision is because I figured if I didn't tell him the news and prevented him from returning to Hong Kong, I would not be the reason for their relationship to go bad, and I'll be doing a good and selfish deed. I was trying to redeem myself for thinking such sinful thoughts.
I don't see what's so wicked about your secret heart's desire.
Kai spoke finally, in a tender and caring voice.
Everybody, as self-sacrificing as they may be, has an unspoken greed for self-happiness, assisted by a poisonous sister called envy. It's only human nature. There's nothing wrong with your thoughts at all. And I can't help thinking that, though your methods may not been the wisest, nonetheless your intentions were pure. I bet even Syaoran couldn't have gotten mad for that. Could he?
No, Malin replied. He just said he was disappointed in me.
As would any man who feels as if he's been slighted, Kai said. You've injured his pride. He wants to make his own decisions. You made him feel like he wasn't capable of making his own decision. You made it for him.
I can see that now, Malin said. Strangely, Kai explaining to her about Syaoran in this kind of manner soothed her greatly. Yes, Kai had a knack with words. He didn't falter her nor reproach her, but just objectively stated the facts.
I know you're feeling pretty foolish right now and probably want to stick your head into the toilet and drown yourself, but I say, haven't things worked out fine anyway?
Kai continued, glad to see Malin smile a little.
He's made his decision. He's probably thought over it carefully and of the consequences, but he's not returning to Hong Kong. Either way, you don't have to feel bad because you certainly are not the cause of his return to Hong Kong. And furthermore, now a great big burden is off your shoulders. The worst is over.
Malin smiled for the first real time. On a side note, he added in his usual flirtatious air,
And Malin, on her own feet, more like one foot, came willingly to my arms. How could I be any happier?
Funny how calming and Kai could be, Malin thought. Though the last comment ruined it, I was so sure that he was just rotten to the core. No, that's not true. Somewhere deep in my heart, I felt attracted to him in the sense that I might have met him somewhere before. Anywhere. Though that's ridiculous because I've never seen him before that fateful spring night when he kidnapped me. But when I'm with him, when I talk to him, for the first time in my life, I feel like I have someone who understands. He somehow knows me better than I know myself. Expecting the usual answer of, "Oh, a gentleman must never let a damsel in distress cry," Malin asked more jokingly than before to lighten the mood. "So, why are you being so nice to me today after I shunned you so?" Stroking her jet black hair, which hung loosely down her back, Kai said, the corners of his lips curved up in a whimsical way.
Didn't I say before that we two have a lot in common?
A tingling shiver went down Malin's spine. She wondered if it was because of Kai's touch or his words. But it wasn't altogether an unpleasant tingle. The few hours that she had left to sleep till morning, Sakura tossed and turned in bed. What did Syaoran have to talk about with Malin? She had never heard him use such a solemn tone on his cousin. In the manner in which he'd sent the rest of them away, it was positively rude, but daunting. Oh, but why did she have to pick a fight with Syaoran when they finally were getting along, too? Plus, the whole business about Miho's brother confused her terribly, yet she could manage to think about one thing at a time. "Still not sleeping?" Kiro-chan asked, slipping into Sakura's blanket. "Don't fret because of the brat." "Why should I fret over him?" Sakura murmured, closing her eyes and drifting into slumber. "Syaoran!" A girl with long brown gold hair was running towards Sakura with desperate tears in her green eyes. How familiar. Like a deja vu, Sakura thought. I've seen that girl before in those streets and heard that name. Sakura then realized she was watching herself run blindly down the familiar streets of the neighborhood, calling, "Syaoran!" This time, she knew she was dreaming, which is maybe why she felt so much more alert, since she was detached from her dream self. It was like watching a movie with Sakura as the main character from a third-person point of view, as if it weren't herself. Even the surroundings seemed so real. Sakura watched herself approach a young man, only his back seen. It was someone with long violet blue hair tied back with a slender white ribbon. She watched Sakura, who was no longer calling out Syaoran's name, fall into the safety of his arms. No, what am I doing? Not him. Sakura clenched her eyes shut, hardly knowing whether it was possible to close your eyes in a dream. When she opened her eyes again, it was no longer the safe, familiar neighborhood. She was now alone. All around her was pitch black. She didn't know what she was doing there. Every single name, face, fact she knew had fled from her mind. She had only the faintest memory of frantically searching for someone. Then she saw a pair of unfamiliar icy blue eyes emerge from the pitch black, cold, inhuman eyes, which gazed straight at her piercingly, mercilessly.